close the doors of your mind from all carnal will, all carnal thought, all emotions, all desires, all fears, all laziness, all doubt. Anything in the center of your mind and your 12 cranial nerves and your 12 melon centers in your hands and your feet and your back and your lower back and your shoulders and your neck. Throughout your capillaries, your dendrites, your axons, throughout your left and right ventricle of your heart, throughout your cerebellum and your cerebrum, your cerebral cortex, all the way down to your bottom of your feet, where all your toxins come out. And bring your body to balance within yourself. Bring your thoughts into balance. To the one who sits in the highest Shamayim, Yahuwah Elohim, who sits in the highest Shamayim, who has his son sitting at his right hand, to help govern all the Shabath Shamayim, the seven heavens, to govern the seven celestial circles, to govern the actual people who submit themselves to his light, to his Dabar, to his understanding, to his infinite knowledge and wisdom and understanding, for our iniquities are infinite. And by his infinite understanding, he can purge us and release us from all sins and put our names written in the Lamb's Book of Life. We keep his commandments and believe on his son Yahushua until the end of our life, and walk in our punishment in the light of life, in the hard way, not the easy way. For the easy way leads to destruction, but the narrow way, well, they say the narrow way leads to life. The easy way leads to destruction. So we look at ourselves and look at our inward man. And we look at our inward thoughts. And we acknowledge this day, this Shabath, as the Elohim, Yahuwah Elohim, who made all beings on the earth, all creatures of the earth, all mountains and streams and rivers under the earth. The one who formed and shaped all things in the sea, in the yam. The one who formed all of the whales and all of the lions and all of the giraffes and all of the animals that we see, that people are in awe of. The one who formed and shaped us and gives us life and understanding within our inner man and our inner being. So this Yom, as we move forward in the fruits that Yahuwah wants to see, not the fruits that we want to see. So that we walk in there, he say the fruits of kindness, ahab, joy, peace, patience, meekness, temperance, emunah, and self-control, gentleness. Right? These are the things that Yahuwah wants to see inside of mankind. Kindness. For these are the things that he wants to see spring up in ourselves. And not our old self, but the new self. Right? So this is the book of Philippians, book of Philippians, the book of Philippians, chapter 2 and verse 11. Actually, verse 14. Philippians 2:14. It says, do all things without grumbling or disputing. So that's everything you do. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's just doing something just for 5 minutes for somebody. He said, do it without grumbling or disputing. Because if you start disputing, then is it really genuine? Right? Because he said we want to do things without pretense. Is it really genuine? Without disputing. That you may be blameless and innocent. Now you see how Yahuwah thinks. If it's with disputing, if it's with grumbling, then it's not really genuine. And you're not innocent in his sight. As we spoke about last week, when they started grumbling against him and they were supposed to go take the land, then they brought an evil report, and all the people started to say things against Yahuwah. So Yahuwah's like, y'all not innocent, y'all against me. So it says right here, children of Yahuwah, without blemish, in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. So Yahuwah does care about how you look in public. He cares about how people perceive you in public. So if you took on his name and you perceived and you showed yourself to be something that you wasn't, and you exemplified the wrong character, then Yahuwah says you're not innocent. He said you're not innocent and you're not blameless. And it says right here, holding fast to the word of life, so that in the day of Mashiach I may be proud that I did not run in vain or labor in vain. So he's looking at an individual. Shaul was looking at himself as a person who's presenting information to people, hoping that they observe it and keep it all the way to the end. it's not his job to do that, to do it for them. He's saying that I hope I didn't do all this for nothing. Right? That's basically what he said. I hope I didn't do all this for nothing. He said it's already hard enough. Right? So when you start to look at what people say that's trying to lead you in the right way, and then you say, oh, I don't want to do that, then it's like, oh, I'm doing all this for nothing. I wasted my time. Right? Verse 17, even if I am to be poured out as a drink offering upon the sacrificial offering of your Amunah, I am glad and rejoice with you all. Why? Because he's giving everything he has. He's like, I'm pouring out everything I got. And why he say that? He's pouring out literally his heart. Right? And why would he say that? He said, I'm literally pouring it out to you, hoping that you understand it. He said, hoping that you understand it, right? So this is the book of Psalms. Psalms 139. Let's go to Psalms 139 and 1. Psalms 139 and 1. Psalms 139 and 1. It says, O Yahuwah, you have searched me and known me. Right? How he going to know you? How he going to search you? By the light? By the word. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. So we know, we talk about Dabarim chapter 6. We know it Abri Lashon, and you know it in English. Speak these words when you sit in the house, walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up. He said, you know what I do. You know when I sit down and you know when I rise. Why? Because he's speaking at the bar. You discern my thoughts from afar. Why? Because you meditate on the bar, you and night, you will have great success. And Yahuwah says, my thoughts are your thoughts, my ways are your ways. My understanding is you. Guess what 3 says? You search out my path and my lying down when I sit out of the way, when I walk by the way, I lie down too. And are acquainted with all my ways. Because he has a relationship with him. Just like he says, speak these words when you sit in the house, walk by when you lie down, you rise up. Your thoughts will be ever so pleasing to you, because his son is actually thinking about what he said. And it won't be a waste of my time to tell you all these things, like Shaul said. And you know what? Y'all will be doing this stuff for nothing. Right? And he says right here, what he says, even before a word is on my tongue, behold, Yahuwah, you know it all together. Why? Because he knows his own words. Before he even said, I know my words. I know what you're getting ready to say. What you getting ready to say? By Yahuwah, I can run through a tree. True. By Yahuwah, I can leap over a wall. I know what you're getting ready to say. When the armies come at you, right? It says right here, you hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Right? He said, you lay it upon me, and get what he said. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is too high. I cannot attain it. So we look at ourselves as that lower level being that's trying to understand the Father in the highest Shamayim. Right? We look at that. Look at ourselves like that. Verse 7 says, where shall I go from your Ruach? He said, where am I going to go? Or where shall I flee from your presence? He said, where am I going to flee? Was you going to hide? There's no way. Just like the sun is getting ready to come back, the Shamash that he made on the 4th day of creation, but the light that was in the beginning was made before the 4th day. And he says, or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to Shamayim, you are there. If I ascend to the Rakia, the firmament, to the first seven Shamayim, he said, you there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I go all the way down to the underworld, to Sheol, to the depths of Hades, all the way down to the other realms and the other worlds, he said, you there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, the Yam, even there your hand shall lead me. Even you go to the depths of the sea, you go all the way down to the bottom of the Yam, to the most lowest places on the earth, in the water. Even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me up. It said, it shall hold me up. All right, skipping over to verse 18. Verse 17. How precious to me are your thoughts. How precious to me. He said, are your thoughts, O Yahuwah? How vast is the sum of them? So he's saying, can you count it? You know how to count the sum if you have it on a calculator. Or you can do it on a spreadsheet, equal sum. You can add up all the actual categories and it'll give you the actual totality of what you actually trying to calculate. He said, how vast are your thoughts? This is some of them. If I would count them, they are more than the sand. He said, you ever got a handful of sand? He said, it's more than the sand. So people say, I understand him. How much do you understand? He said, it's more than the sand. He says, I awake and I am still with you. He said, I am still with you. He said, I am still with you. Verse 19, oh, that you would slay the wicked, O Elohim, O men of blood, depart from me. Why? Because now he's looking at, being that Yahuwah's thoughts are so infinite, and you can't number them, they're without number and numeral. If I would try to count them, he said, I wouldn't be able to. So then he starts to look at, all these people out here think they know it all. All these people out here, he said, the wicked think they know. They think they understand. He said, those are what? Men of blood. He said, these men of blood actually think they know. They think they know your infinite wisdom and knowledge, understanding, your infinite mercy and compassion, your infinite understanding. They actually believe they know when they say things out of their mouth they should not say. And why would he say, men of blood, depart from me? Get verse 20 says, they speak against you with malicious intent. Your enemies take your name in vain. Why? Because they are pretending. They're pretending. He said they take your name in vain. They put your name on and they don't even, they think they know. They don't. And he says, because they are pretending. Do not I hate those who hate you? He said, they hate you. He said, I hate them too. He said, do I hate those who hate you? Oh, Yahuwah, just like a man, somebody who would dishonor your father. He's like, you just dishonor my father. And get what he said. The son say, I hate you too. I dishonor you too. And people saying, how is that even possible? People have no idea. The son say the same thing. He said, do I hate those who hate you? So if you have a father in the house, or say a mother, and somebody come around and say they start hating your mother and your father, then the children should say, I hate you too. See, they don't understand you like I do. They don't understand you like I do. So why are you saying things about them that you know nothing about? And people saying, how do you make hatred inside of a person? That's how you make hatred inside of a person. When you don't know the individual, and when you don't know the whole thing, and then you start to create things and hate somebody else. He said, they think they know you, Father. They think they know you, Mother. People don't even do this naturally. But then you start to see the actual transition and the transgressions of human beings. That's why Yahuwah says, every deed is exposed to the light. Do not I hate those who hate you, O Yahuwah? Do not I loathe those who rise up against you? He said, they try to put themselves above you. He said, I cast them people away. I hate them with complete hatred. I count them my enemies. Why? Well, when you start being Yahuwah, Dawid is seeing himself as a son to Yahuwah, and you know what he's saying? He's saying, if they hate you, Father, and they dishonor you, I hate them too. He said it's perfect hatred because they don't understand your infinite knowledge and wisdom, understanding in the mind, and they say things about you that's not true. And it says, 22, I hate them and I count them with a complete hatred. Search me, O Yahuwah, and know my heart. So now he's saying, search me if I'm lying, because I ain't pretending when I say that. That's literally what Dawid is. He's saying, search me to see if I'm pretending when I say that. Because a lot of people pretend when they say things, and he's like, search me. Because you ain't running vain. You ain't just you ain't just tell me something I'm not believing. He said, search me, O Elohim, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. He's trying to prove to his father that, hey, you see, in the highest Shamayim, that I do love you, and I do, right? And he says, and see if there be any grievous way in me, and lead me in a way everlasting. He said, then see. Right, so this is the book of This is the book of Matthew. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 26. Actually, let's go to the book of. Let's go to Mark chapter 5. Mark chapter 5 and verse 1. Mark chapter 5 and verse 1. Mark chapter 5 and verse 1. Mark chapter 5 verse 1. It says, they came to the other side of the sea of the country of Gerasenes, and when Yahushua had stepped out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tomb a man with an unclean ruach. He said he had an unclean ruach, right? These are all part of what? He said uncleanness. Yeah, because ruachs dwell in unclean places, like graveyards, dirty houses, abandoned warehouses. Unclean spirits, demons, dwell inside of these places. Filthy places, filthy bodies, filthy minds. That's where demons, Shadim, dwell at. Right, so if you say, I don't want to be possessed by spirits, he said, make sure you keep a clean life in your mind, in your thoughts, in your life, in your house, in your field, everywhere, anything you do. Right, and it says right here, it says, he lived among the tombs. Right? He in an unclean place anyway. So whose fault is that? You see where he was living at? He said, so pick your places wisely where you live. You know, people say, I want to live next to a graveyard. Why? You're literally setting yourself up. Why would you want to live in a house where somebody died? Right, and it says right here, and it says, he lived among the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. He said, not even with a chain. It says, for he had often been bound with shackles and chains, but he wrenched the chains apart and he broke the shackles in pieces. Amazingly, who this sound like? It sounds like Samson, Shamshun. You know what Shamshun? Every time he got tied up, he broke them. But then you see his behavior while he was breaking all them ropes. You see his behavior? Right. And it says, and he broke the shackles in pieces. No one had the strength to subdue him. Isn't that what they had with Shamshun too? Nobody could subdue him. Why? Because he had the 7 locks on him. He did all that other wicked stuff too. But he still had the 7 locks. He said, this person got, you know what he said? Nobody could subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always crying out and cutting himself with stones. That's how you know he got a different type of ruach. He cut himself with stones. And guess what happens? And when he saw Yahushua from afar, he ran and fell down before him. He ran and did what? He fell down. And what did he do? And crying out with a loud voice, and what he gonna do? Cry loud, spare not? Lift his voice like a trumpet and show people their transgressions? Let's see what he did. He cried out a loud voice and he said, what have you to do with me, Yahushua? He's like, what you talking about? He says, son of the Most High, Elohim. And guess what he said? And guess what after that? He asked him a question. He asked Yahushua a question. What have I to do with you? And he says, I adjure you by Elohim, do not torment me. He said, I command you by Yahuwah Elohim, don't torment me. So you can see him trying to take control because he has his own little territory and he is in command of that area. And he's like, I tell you what to do. And guess what he said? Do not torment me, for he was saying to him, come out of the man, you unclean ruach. So Yahushua already talking to him before he even started. He was already telling him to come out. He was already telling him to come out. And Yahushua asked him, what is your name? He said, what? He said, what's your name? Because you remember, people be wondering why they can't. He said, what's your name? Because a lot of people don't know. He said, how do you know people? I don't know you. He said, what's your name? If you don't know their name, then how in the world you know people? How you know them? How you know what type of spirit this is? He replied, my name is Legion. He said, man, I'm just a legion. For we are many. He said, we. He said, we. We are many. Because when you have many, we are many. And guess what? When you have that many, guess what happens? It's a real problem for anybody outside of Yahuwah. And if you ain't got Yahusha and Yahuwah on your inside, it's a problem for you. It's going to be a real problem. He said, we are many. And he begged him earnestly to send them out of the country. He said, please send me out. He's like, get out of here. He says, now a great herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside. And they begged him, saying, send us into the pigs and let us enter them. He's like, let us go there. And guess what? So he gave them permission. Amazingly, the spirits asked for permission from Yahushua Mashiach, just like the people didn't ask for permission to take that bread from them people. Just like Adam ain't asked permission for Yahuwah to eat that bread. Just like Yahuwah didn't ask for permission. None of these people asked for permission. But the demon, the Shadim, got more sense. He said he asked for permission. Because he knew who his master was. And he knew who the ruler was. But for some reason, people don't do that. He knew. And get what it said. And the unclean ruach came out and entered the pig and the herd, numbering about 1,000, people 2,000. People were wondering why their spirits are not in them, are still in them. Because you ain't asked for permission. Because they be looking for permission. He's like, can we please get out of here, please? You ever had, he said, please, just let me go. He said, can I get out of here, please? Why? Because they know. And get what it says. And it says numbering, get what it says, pigs and a herd, numbering about 2,000. So 2,000 unclean ruachs left his body. That's the only reason he had all that strength and power. That's why he could bench press and lift all them weights. That's why he can throw people across the room. That's why he can jump from one country to another. That's why they can fly through the air. That's why they can heal the sick and heal the sick. That's why they can do certain things, enchantments, and see in the future. That's how they're able to do it. He said they got 2,000 spirits on the inside of them, working together as one, on the inside of the person's body. People say, I got this ability. Yeah, you got about 2,000 spirits working in your body that actually help you do that. It ain't just one. Because they all got to work together for the body to function and have these gifts on the inside of that being, that demon. So that's the only way they got to have them. They got to have about 2,000 to have those type of abilities. You know what people do? They dress up like them. And it says, and numbering about 2,000 rushed down to the steep bank in the sea and drowned in the sea, right? Because that's what's going to happen, right? So why we did that, right? So they go into the book of Leviticus, chapter 19. Leviticus, chapter 19. Leviticus, chapter 19, in verse 30. Actually, Leviticus 19 and 30, yeah. It says, you shall keep, Leviticus Yikra 19 and 30. You shall keep my Shabaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am Yahuwah. Why? Because your body's the temple of Yahuwah. And you're supposed to keep the Shabbat. You're supposed to cease from all your work and your labors. And it says, do not turn to mediums or necromancers. So how do mediums and necromancers get their powers? By all the spirits and the demons on the inside of their body. Right, so going to Leviticus 19:31, that word for Leviticus 19:31. Leviticus 19:31, that word for, we're gonna find out, the word for Leviticus for necromancers and mediums. So they say that word for necromancers is Eud. So you see, that's what they call it. Familiar spirits. How come the necromancers, they say mediums, this is therefore for mediums. It is Eud. It means a what? The idea of prattling a father. Prattling a father. He said, what is prattling? Because that's what it says. It's still more. I'm just going through it, right? So that word prattling, the word prattling is prattle. It means talk at length in a foolish and inconsequential way towards somebody. Talk at length in a foolish or inconsequential way. Inconsequential way. I'm sorry. That's what a necromancer. That's what a medium is. And guess what it says here? Talking in an inconsequential and foolish way to a father. You know what David just said? He said, "Do not I hate those who hate you? Do not I loathe those who talk about you? Don't understand you? How many are your thoughts? Who can count the sum of them?" He said, "You talking about my father in a foolish and inconsequential way. You said you crazy?" He said, "You're a necromancer." He said, "You're a medium." And yet what it also says, it means also a mumble, to mumble. To mumble and to mumble. And you'd be like, what David said? David said, "Search my heart, you will see if I'm pretending." It says, that is a water skin, or a hollow sound. You ever seen them trumpets? You know those trumpets that they have, and it's hollow, but you blow through it, and you'll have like that. You'll see like cheerleaders have it, or like they have that horn and you talk through it. And amazing, when the demon Shadim came to Yahushua, what did he say? He said with a loud voice to him, "What have I to do with you, O son of you?" Right? And you'd be like, what is that? That's a medium. That's a spirit. That's a demon on the inside. These are 2,000 of them. 2,000. And it says, hence a necromancer, a ventriloquist, as of a jar, from a jar. It's like a person, a spirit inside of a bottle. Or a genie, or what they say. Right, that word for, it said you got mediums and you got necromancers. Well, you got mediums, you got necromancers. The word for necromancers is Yadani. Yadani. It says a knowing one. He said a knowing one. He was saying, what do you mean? And Adani. Why do you think he knew the demon, the spirit knew who Yahushua was? He said, what have I to do with you, O son of Yahuwah? Son of the Most High? He already knew who he was. He's a knowing one. Matter of fact, he said, Yahushua, I know. Shaul, I recognize. And it also means what? A conjurer, a wizard. You mean a wizard, a ghost. He a wizard, a ghost. People's like, what is that? He said, that's a wizard. Right? Of course, yeah, briefly, of course, he goes out deeper, but at the same time, verse 31, going back to Leviticus 19:31 ESV, it says, do not turn to mediums, people who talk about Yahuwah in an inconsequential way, other father, in a foolish way, or necromancers. They are in need. Do not seek them out. He said, why would you seek out people who are doing that? And these are the things that people be ignorant of. And these are the things that cause people to get entangled with things, with demons and shadim inside of people that you be thinking are, even though they're a knowing one, they know all these things, but then you start to see how one gets entangled with these things, and then you find yourself, how you say, going around with many things and many missing pieces in your heart that needs to be healed. And it says, do not seek them out, and so make yourselves unclean by them. That's why he called them unclean ruach. That's why he had 2,000 of them in his body. He had 2,000 unclean spirits in his body. And Dawid said, search me, Yahuwah, and see if there anything wicked in me, any type of thought, and lead me in the way everlasting. Because he knew these people that's talking about you, he said, I hate them too. They don't know you. And guess what it says? They pretended. And he says, make yourself unclean now. He says, I am Yahuwah. He said, why would he do that? He said, I am Yahuwah. Right, going to Leviticus chapter 20. Leviticus chapter 20. Leviticus chapter 20. In verse 19. Leviticus 20:1. And Yahuwah spoke to Ashar, saying, say to the people of Yasharal, any one of the people of Yasharal or the strangers who sojourn in Yasharal, who gives any of his children to Molech, shall surely be put to death. Why would he say that? He said, you're going to give your children to another Elohim, another God? It's supposed to be enmity between you and his Satan seed and your seed. Why do you think Shanym was like, I want that? And the mother and father was like, is there not a woman in Yasharal of your own people? But you know what he did? Tore a lion, didn't tell him, gave him unclean food. Then he went out there and went to the uncircumcised woman. And then guess what? Even the woman he was forbidden got entangled with the 30 companions of the Philistine, got entangled with her father. Then I'm getting upset, killing 30 people, coming back. Wife was given to another person. He upset, burned down their field, and they came to kill the father and the daughter eventually. All dealing with the same people. He said, when you give them over to other Elohims, they understand what's going to happen to them. That's what happens. But it was all for a purpose, right? And it said right here, and Molech and shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall come and stone with stones. That's what they used to do back in times past. They would take people out for no reason. But Yahushua was casting things out. See, that's the difference. They casting stones, and Yahushua casting demons out. Because when people were stoning people, that's the how you say, the sound of death. That's the result of the sounds of death of Shem Jazim. That's what that is. It's the sound of death. Yahushua, y'all throwing stones, you cast a stone, and Yahushua casting spirits out of people. So you can't throw a stone at them anymore. And it says, I myself will set my face against that man and cut him off from among his people. He's going to cut the demons out of him. Just like we talk about circumcision. But we don't talk about it, right? And he says, because he has given one of his children over to Molech to make my sanctuary unclean. Which means you brought a Shanym in there. You got a spirit on the inside of you. You have something on the inside of your heart and your mind that made you profane the sanctuary, your body. Because that's the only reason you even doing that. That's the reason why a man, a woman, a mother and father would do that. Because they have something on the inside of them that they should not have. He said, why would you give your son over to another god, a Molech, and offer him up? Because they have something on the inside of their body, that's their mind, that's making them do that. And yet what it says, to profane my Kudash name. Because that's all Yahuwah thinking about his name. He's like, I don't like pretenders. You pretending as if you know me, but you're worshiping other gods. And you're giving your children over to idols. And he's like, how in the world are you calling on my name? He said, don't put my name on that. You know how people say, don't put my signature on that. Don't put my name on that either. Take my name off. Don't put me on there. Don't be saying people put my name on that. Man, take me down. People saying, why? Because he's trying to show you, I don't want to be involved in it. It's not like, oh, yeah, what do you mean by that? Yahuwah's not playing. Like people think, now we talk about every day you get a year. Like how many times you want that? And he says, and if the people of the land do at all close their eyes to the man when he gives one of his children to Malak, and do not put him to death, which means if you don't get the spirit, the ruach out of him, that's really what he's saying. Because you know, people say, I'm gonna stone people. No, man. Yahushua said, I come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. That's what he said. He said, then I will set my face against that man and against his clan and will cut them off from among their people. That's why. Because you are comfortable with people doing that. That's why. Because being that you're comfortable, we're comfortable, you're comfortable. Being that you're doing that, we're all comfortable together. You will say, I just get everybody. And the people saying, why did he say that? And it says right here, he said, cut them off from among their people, him and all who follow him in whoring after Molech. He said, everybody who's going to do exactly what he did. He said, so when you see somebody doing it, he said, why should I do what you do? When I know what you're doing is evil. He said, I don't have the understanding. He said, let me enlighten you a little bit. And it says right here, verse 6 says, if a person turns to mediums and necromancers, whoring after them, how do you think you even get the knowledge and intellect to even go after Molech? He said, how you even get it? Right? Going to Leviticus 20, that word for, just going there real quick, that word for Leviticus 20 and 5, the word for Molech is Malak, M-L-K. Malak, Mim Alamed Kaf. Malak. It's a deity, it's a ruler. That's what Malak is. It's a deity that they put as a ruler. It's a stone image that they put as their ruler. And people were offering it to the king. Not the king, not Yahuwah, because Yahuwah said, I am the king. He said, I rejected you, Yahuwah, rejected you, Shabath. They rejected me from being king over there. But he said Malak, right? And that word for we know that familiar spirits is the same word, Eud, same word for Eud, right? Let's go back to Leviticus 20 and 6. If a person turns to mediums and necromancers, whoring after them, that's what it means. That's what Yahuwah considers whoring. Because you married Yahuwah, and I should be your only God, only Elohim. And you whoring after them, I will set my face against that person. That's man, woman, child. And cut him off from among his people. He said, I'm going to cut them off. Concretely, he says, consecrate yourselves therefore and be kudash, for I am Yahuwah your Elohim. So he's literally saying, purify yourselves from these things. He's saying, purify yourselves from these things, right? Purify yourselves from the Yadani and the Eod. Why? Because if you don't, he considers it whoring. And when you with her in a relationship, in a marriage, in a relationship, and you have another God or another man or another deity, then guess what happens? You know how Yahuwah looks at that? He said, that's adultery. That's a whoring. He said, I got me another one. He said, no. He said, right there, Yahuwah is a masculine form, and he has Yashar Yahuwah in a feminine form. He said, you can't do that. He said, you know how it happens if you do that? You leave yourself open to other beings and other spirits. You might get 2,000 of them. It's gonna be so hard. He said, how am I gonna get you? He said, you got like 2,000 Shadim on the inside of you now. And people saying, what do these people do? Right? This is Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1, this is going to happen to you. Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1 in verse 18. Right? This is what's going to happen to you if you don't do this. Right? You see the man with 2,000. This is going to happen to you. Romans 1:18. It says, for the wrath of Yahuwah is revealed from Shamayim against all ungodliness or unrighteousness of men, women, and children, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. He said, why you suppressing the truth? You don't want nobody to know. Hey, you don't want no 2,000 spirits, give people these abilities to do all this. He said, how do you know 2,000 spirits? They don't want you to know that that's how they got all that strength and able to do all those abilities, see into the future. And I can see that when these things are going to happen 2,000 years later. And all these things that you see. And this outside Yahuwah's Debar and his gifts that he gives through Kudash. And it says, the wrath of Yahuwah is being revealed against the all unrighteous and ungodliness of men who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about Yahuwah is plain to them. You see all his infinite knowledge and understanding. Who can count the number of the sands of the sea? Who can count the sum of them? It's clear. David was like, it's clear for everybody to see. Yahuwah ain't running vain. Yahuwah showed you everything he did. For what can be known about Yahuwah is plain to them, because Elohim has shown it to them. He's shown it to every person on the earth. You can see it. Look around you. Look at the air. Look at the sky. Look at the shamayim. Look at the trees. Look at the animals. Look at the creatures. Look at all of the animals of the earth in every region. Some got long hair, some got short hair, some got small eyes, some got big eyes. Some can make webs, some can't. Some can fly through the air, some can't. But they all look at you and say, what's wrong with you? That's why David was like, I hate them that hate you. Them animals be looking at us and be like, what's wrong with you? And he says right here, and he showed it to him. Verse 20, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, has been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world. He's like, you can see this. But not Shamshun, he's like, what's stronger than a lion? What's stronger than a lion? It's sweeter than honey. He's like, it's me. He couldn't see it anymore. And what put that in his mind? Yahuwah put it in his mind. But what did he send? He sent a Shadim in his mind. How you gonna do all that? Thou shalt not steal. He killed 30,000, steal their clothes. Who put that in his mind? Yahuwah did, but he said an unclean spirit was in his mind. And he said right here, what is known by Elohim is plain to them. Let's go down. It says, have been clearly perceived even ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made. So they are without excuse. Nobody is. For although they knew Elohim, they did not honor him as Elohim and to give thanks to him. You know why they didn't give thanks? He said, Yahuwah, I hate them who hate you. Do not loathe those who hate you. They hate you. I hate them with a complete hatred. You know why David said that? He said, you don't like my father, do you? He's like, you don't like my father? You see what my father got all this stuff he made, and then you don't like him? He said, you bloodthirsty men. He said, why? You bloodthirsty men and women. He said, y'all bloodthirsty. You like to stone people, don't you? He said, how infinite is your thoughts? You think Yahuwah, that little man that he was saying he gonna cut off, he gonna cast out. But at the same time, Yahushua came to heal those people. Why? Because he was trying to show you the difference between human beings and Yahushua Mashiach. He's a little different. And it says right here, for although they knew Elohim, they did not honor him as Elohim Yahuwah, and giving thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. That's the whole point. Your heart and your mind, your makashba, your yetzer, your imaginations, your thoughts. Then David say, you know my thoughts. You know I'm not pretending. But guess what? He said these people are. They're foolish thoughts. They became darkened, claiming to be wise. They're wise. They became fools. And exchanged the kabod of Yahuwah of immortal Elohim for images resembling mortal man, Malak. Molech. That's what they did. They exchanged it and they offered their children up to him. And guess what happens? In images resembling mortal man and birds and animals and creeping things. Now the birds like, what you worshiping me for? The creeping things like, man, you know they made a picture of me last week. I don't know what they're doing that for. That's the first time I ever seen myself. You know that? Unless the bug look in the water, in the glass in the mirror that Yahuwah made. And guess what happened? Therefore Yahuwah gave them up to their lust and their hearts to impurity. That's why he did the Shamshun. That's why he let them do all that stuff. That's why he let people, you see through time, Adam and Qahalath, all these people do all these things. Because the very same thing you desire, Yahuwah will allow you to get it. And then he'll take you down. He'll let you go. People say, nah, he won't do that. He said, you gave your children over to Malak. You did. You allowed these things to continue. And it says, therefore, Elohim gave them up to their lust of their hearts, to impurity, to dishonoring of their bodies among themselves, because they exchanged the truth of Yahuwah. He say exchanged it for a lie, a kazab, a shakir, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is Barak forever among. He said he did that. They worship the creature more than the Creator. They worship themselves. They worship their image and likeness. They worship other beings. Right? And everything that happened to them, it allowed them not to what? Inherit eternal life. It's not going to allow you to. Why do you think Shanym was talking about himself? And it says right here, 26, for this reason Elohim gave them up to dishonorable passions, for their women exchange their natural relations for those that are contrary to nature. They exchanged it. And it says, and the men likewise gave up their natural relations with women and were consumed in passions for one another. That's the same thing. And now people consumed with passions for other things. Outside of that, they say, oh, that's being ridiculous. You know what? I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And do that. There's all types of things out here now. And it says right here, passions, men committing shameless acts with men and receiving in themselves the penalty of their error. Why? Because they're messed up. They messed up in their in their thoughts. And the only reason they are because the parents gave their children over to Malak. Gave them over to necromancers, Aod and Aydah, and necromancers and mediums. That's the only reason. And they hearken to them, and they listen to them. 2,000 demons. People with 2,000 spirits, 1,500 spirits. You're like, man, this person can predict the future. This person can float in the air. This person can see through my heart. This man, he's psychic. He can track people. He can sniff his clothes and track him down. He can do all types of things. He said, let me go look at the gifts of Yahuwah and see where that's at. Right? Some of them things, he'd be like, what is that? He'd be like, what ability is that? And it says right here, verse 28, and since they did not see fit to acknowledge Yahuwah, Yahuwah gave them up, being that they were pretending. That's the reason. They were pretending. They acting like they know Yahuwah. They act like they know Elohim. Then Yahuwah gave them up and let them do what they want to do. He said, I just give you up. That's how Yahuwah is. He said, you don't want your spirit, these Shadim cast out of you. He said, I just give you up. That's why when they hear the bar, they hate the light. That's why the spirits on the inside hate the light. Lest their deeds be reproved. And they gotta get out. And it says right here, and they were filled with all manner of unrighteousness, evil. This is going to happen to you when you go after mediums and necromancers. This is what's going to happen to you when you get the children of Malak and hearken to wizards. And people who speak foolish things and things against the Father in evil ways. This is the medium. And since they did not see fit to acknowledge Yahuwah, Elohim gave them up to the base mind, to do what they ought not to do. They were filled with all manner of unrighteousness, evil, covetousness, malice. They were filled with envy, murder, strife, maliciousness. They were all gossips and slanderers, haters of Elohim, insolent, haughty, boasters, inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, foolish, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Though they know Yahuwah's righteous, though they know Yahuwah's righteous decree, they know it. And we just read it. They knew all that. Yasharal Yehuda knew all the righteous decrees. They knew all the laws. They knew everything. Though they know all righteous decree, that those who practice such things deserve to die. We just read it. But guess what they do? They do not only do them, they they talk about people who ain't that's supposed to die, right? They talk about people who's something supposed to happen to them. But they, you know what they do? But they not only do them, they do the very same things, but give approval. The same we read in the Leviticus, he said, if you know, and you don't do nothing, he said, Yahuwah, like, I'm gonna get you too for pretending to, that you love me. He said, I'm gonna get you too. I'm gonna get that man and woman who covered them up, covered this stuff up. He said, I'm gonna get you. He says, but they didn't give approval to those who practice them. They practice. He said, why would you give approval to it? And this is important. He said, why? Because you're pretending if you give approval to it and you say you know that it's wrong, but you give approval to something that you know is wrong, so therefore you are pretending. And then Yahuwah is like, you're a pretender. You're against me. That's how Yahuwah is. You're against me. Here I am trying to cleanse the earth from the beginning, since Bereshit chapter 1, no, Bereshit chapter 6, when Shemjaza, Azazel, and Osbel all came down here, and all the Malachim who pretended to be like they were in the Shamayim, but then they left Shamayim and created this whole chaos. And here I am trying to get everybody back, and you up here pretending, and I'm using you as a person that's supposed to be the light to them to actually show them that you ain't supposed to be doing that. But then you're doing the same thing. So how in the world I'm going to show the world who I am, and you slandering and gossiping and got evil and cutting and murder and gossip and solid and foolish and saying foolish things about fathers and other people's fathers you don't even know, and making up stuff and creating stuff, and you faithless, and what is the other thing? Disobedient to parents like Shem Shum. They ain't want to listen to his parents, don't marry that uncircumcised. None of that would have happened if he did that. If he had just listened to his parents and just went on ahead and got him a woman from Yasharal, he would have never been, there wouldn't have been no judges all the way to the end where he was in between two pillars and he pushed the thing through. But being that Yahuwah, because Yahuwah was involved in it. But if he ain't, had it just happened, think about it. Man, you would have saved your son from a whole mess of stuff. But he was just hard-headed, and Yahuwah made him hard-headed. But you got proof, though. But we see it. He's like, man, we see it. But you know what people are going to do? Even though they know all of that, they'll still do it anyway. And you'll find yourself in between two pillars, everybody mocking you, and you're going to find yourself being slain and all that stuff. And you'll be like, man, what happened to that person? The same thing that happened to Shamshon. And he says, you give approval to those who practice it. Why would you give approval to that? Because all these behaviors are what? Wizards, necromancers, Ayo, Adani, and Malak, those people who channel spirits, wizards, and warlocks do. That's why he's saying that. And everybody who does these things, these are all the spirits that come with it. When you forsake Yahuwah, he said all they did was just worship the creature more than the creator. And these are all the behaviors that come with it. Look how many are there. And there's probably like maybe 1,000 more behaviors that come with it. Because you ain't got lying and everything that you see, but they all come with it. That's how many demons and Shadim gets on the inside of a body, and then people say, man, that person like he's superhuman. Exactly. he like superhuman. And let me show you a superhuman. I'll show you one. Right, this is the book of Acts. Right, this is the book of Acts. This is the book of Acts. Right, so this is the book of Acts. I think it's Acts chapter 16. Yeah, let's go to Acts chapter. Yeah, go to Acts chapter 16, verse 1. Acts chapter 16, verse 1. It says, Shaul also to Derbe and to Lystra, and disciples were there, and named Timothy, the son of a it says a Jewish one, but it says who was a female Yehudi who was a believer, for his father was a Greek. He was well spoken of by the brothers at Lystra. Paul wanted Timothy to accompany him and took him and circumcised him. He circumcised them because of the Yahudim who were in those places, for they all knew that his father was a Greek. He said, we know you, we know you ain't of my people. He said, we ain't no fools, we know you ain't of our people. Right? And as they went on their way through the cities, they delivered to them for the observance the decision that had been reached by the Shalakim and the elders who were in Jerusalem. So that the congregation were strengthened in Amunah, and they increased in number daily. It says, and they went through the region of Phrygia and Galatia, having been forbidden by the Kudash Ruach to speak the word in Asia. He said they were forbidden. Right? Because you say, I just want to speak the word everywhere. We were like, I ain't tell you this. He's like, Ruach tell you not to talk, don't say anything. And when they had come up to Mysia and attempted to go to Bithynia, the Ruach of Yahusha did not allow them. Huh? It ain't allowed. He said, what? He said, I'm not going to do this for no entertainment. You know how people do? Yeah, I'm going here. I'm finna do this and that. And he's like, no, I ain't doing this for no entertainment. He's like, this ain't what you think. If the Ruach don't tell me to, it don't say you not to say nothing, you shouldn't say anything. It says, so passing by Mysia, they went down to Trails, and a vision appeared to Shaul in the night. And a man of Macedonia was standing there and urging him and saying, come over to Macedonia and help us. For he had a vision. And when Shaul had seen the vision, immediately we sought to go to Macedonia, concluding that Yahuwah Elohim had called us to preach or to teach the truth to them. Why? Because they're looking in the spirit world. They ain't looking at to get no popularity and stuff like people doing today. He said they're looking in the spirit, the Ruach world. They're looking in the unseen world. You know, the world that people don't want. He said, I don't want to talk about that. He said, the Ruach told me not to speak here, told me not to speak there. Then I had a vision, it telling me to go here. So then he said, what kind of Ruach is that? Because that's how Yahuwah works. That's how Yahusha works. Verse 11 says, so setting sail to Troas, we made a direct voyage to Samothrace and followed, it says, in the following day to Neapolis, and from there to Philippi, which is leading the city of the district of Macedonia, right? Right, verse 13. And on the Shabath day, we went outside the gate to the riverside, where we supposed there was a place of prayer. And we sat down and spoke to the woman who had come together. One heard us was a woman named Lydia of the city of Thyatira, a seller of purple goods, who was a worshiper of Yahuwah. Yahuwah opened her heart to pay attention to what was said by Shaul, and afterwards she was immersed in her household as well. And she urged us, saying, if you have judged me to be faithful to Yahuwah, come to my house and stay. And she prevailed upon us, right? So you see all that. You see all that? You see how the Ruach works? Ruach ain't got all this, like people think. Like Ruach ain't working like what y'all think it is. Ruach and Yahuwah be choosing people. Yahuwah open her heart to pay attention. You want to get them out? Yeah. Yahuwah did this. The Ruach don't be speak everywhere, talk everywhere. He's like, you ain't tell me to talk everywhere. It's just like Ezra when he wrote all the books down. He's like, publish these openly, but the other ones don't be published. Don't be telling people about that stuff. He's like, keep that stuff somewhere. They don't be knowing that stuff out here. People be thinking like, Yahuwah be like, just tell everybody. No, I give you what he tell me, and that's it. I ain't giving you the rest. For what? That's treason. You gonna get me in trouble. like you say, you get me in trouble with the Ruach, not with the people around, the human beings. Like, you won't get in trouble with the Ruach. And the Ruach, man, that's not a joke, right? Verse 16, this is what we want. As we were going to the palace, the place of prayer, we were met by a slave girl. who had a ruach of divination. Right? She had another spirit. It ain't just one. She got a whole bunch of them. In order to get that ruach of divination, or you say Necron or Eod, Eod, be a wizard, a sorcerer, a knowing one. That's what the Eod is, a knowing one. Let's see what this knowing one says. A slave girl who had a ruach of divination and brought her owners much gain by fortune telling. Right? She's a knowing one. She's able to see into the future. She's a knowing one. Oh, they know too. You'd be like, oh, they don't know. Oh, yeah, they do. Don't be a fool. They know. You'd be like, oh, they necromancers. They sacrifice animals to channel demons and stuff. They don't know nothing. You're a fool. You know, yes, they do. They know exactly what you're doing. And it says, and let me see what this slave girl said, who had a spirit of divination and brought her owners much gain through fortune telling. She brought a whole bunch of money in. Because they owned her. Because when you're a slave to somebody, they own you. And that demon, that spirit, that channeling spirit, they want to make you a merchandise. That's why people had certain beings at their side, like Balaam. But Balaam wasn't a slave, though. But Balaam had that powers, the magical powers, he was able to do certain things. That's why you see a lot of people going to places and taking these. People say, why the female slave trade is getting real big now? There's a reason why. People getting kidnapped, child trafficking. It's not always about sex trafficking. Sometimes it ain't about sex trafficking. Sometimes it's about this person got an ability. This person can see into the future. This person she's a fire starter. She can spontaneous make things happen. Right? This person got spell powers, right? Sometimes it's like that. It ain't just about that, but I'm sorry. But it says, she followed Shaul and us crying out, these men are servants of the Most High, Elohim, because she's a knowing one. She know. Why? What the demon said to Yahushua? What do we have to do, O son of Yahuwah? And guess what? These men are the servants of the Most High Yahuwah, who proclaim to you the way of salvation. Because they know too. They proclaim it. And this she kept doing for many days. So this ain't just one day. I just passed by, oh man, you're the servants of the Most High Yahuwah. So this person was literally following them around for days. Why? Because she was trying to get some money through telling fortunes, or you say telling the future, or being a knowing one, because she wanted to get more money. Why? Because the love of money rooted all evil. And her slavery was to make money for people by telling people the future, or telling people being a knowing one. And yet what she said, and who proclaimed to you the way of salvation. And this she kept doing for many days. And Shaul, having become greatly annoyed, so he getting tired of this woman following around, saying this stuff. These are the servants, they show you the way of salvation. Because she pretended. He's getting annoyed by this pretending woman who's following him around, proclaiming that he boasting about him and what he doing and who he is and what Yahuwah sent him to do. And he getting tired of her doing it because he knows that she is not sincere and he knows that she is pretending. And he says, he kept doing it for 3 days, and Shaul, having become greatly annoyed, turned and said to the Ruach, he said to the spirit, I command you in the name of Yahushua Mashiach, come out of her. Right? So he literally talking to the other Ruach on the other side. Remember, they were listening to the Ruach, they go to this city, don't speak here. Go to the Ruach, they go to this city, don't speak here. He had a vision, he's in the spirit world, tell him to go here. And then they see another spirit, and then he's talking to a spirit. And it came out of her that very hour. It left. And you know what happens when your abilities, you know how you lose your abilities? You've seen like the shows and the TV show where people lose their ability? Oh my gosh, I am just a human being. now you ain't got your powers anymore. Let's see what happens after you ain't got your powers anymore. But when her owners saw that their hope of gain is gone, like her powers are gone. But I thought you had them powers. But you had them superpowers. They were gone. They see Shaul and Silas. He's like, man, these people casting out the spirits that give the powers to make money. Like, so he said, don't be thinking all these people got all these talents. Don't be thinking that they got it from the Ruach Kadah. Shit, people ain't got no talent. Some people got this stuff from other things. But when the owner saw that their hope of gain was gone, they seized Shaul and dragged them into the marketplace before the rulers. And when they had brought them to the magistrates, they said, these men are Yahudim, and they are disturbing our city. How are they disturbing the city? Because they're messing up their money, their gain. They're messing up their hustle. What they're doing. That's the whole point. Right, go in the book of Judges. Go in the book of Judges. Go in the book of Judges. Book of Judges, chapter 1. Actually, Judges, let's go to Judges. Judges chapter... Let's go to Judges chapter 17. Let's go to Judges chapter 17. Judges 17 and 1. Judges chapter 17 and 1. There was a man in the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Micah. And he said to his mother, 1,100 pieces of silver that were taken from you, about which you uttered a curse, and also spoke in my ears, behold, the silver is with me. Why would you want that money? He said, the silver is with me. But guess what it says? I took it. He said, I took it. And his mother said, Barak be my son by Yahuwah. Say what? So she literally saying, you Barak, man. You know that stuff you curse, that thing, that money you got. Man, you curse that thing. She said, Barak be Yahuwah. And he restored the 1,100 pieces of silver to his mother. And his mother said, I dedicated the silver to Yahuwah from my hand for my son, to make a carved image and a metal image. He's like, so you just forsook the image of your mortal, changed the image of Yahuwah for mortal man, for wood and stone. He's like, what you do that for? So who gave her the talent, or you say the ability to even get that? It says, now therefore I will restore it to you. So when he restored the money to his mother took 200 pieces of silver and gave it to the silversmith, who made it into a carved image and a metal image. For she made that expensive idol. Not that cheap wood idol, but she made that, let me make sure this thing looked real good this time. And it was in the house of Micah, and the man Micah had a shrine, and he made an ephod and a house of gods, and ordained one of his sons, who became his priest. He like, man, I got these idols in my heart. Matter of fact, I got these idols in my house. It's made with silver too. And then I'm gonna put my son as a priest, a kahan, over that idol. He says, guess what? You know why? In those days, there was no malak, no king in Yasharal, and everyone did what was right in his own eyes. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. That's the only reason they had those gods. Okay, skipping over, going to the book of Judges, chapter. Book of Judges. Let's go to Judges chapter 20. Judges chapter 20, verse 1. Shaphatim, Judges chapter 20, verse 1. And it says, then all the people of Yasharal came out from Dan to Beersheba, including the land of Gilead, and the congregation assembled as one man to Yahuwah at Mizpah. And the chiefs of all the people, those are all the leaders, all the people, the chiefs, right? The chiefs of all the people of all the tribes of Yasharal, that's 12 tribes, presented themselves in an assembly of the people of Elohim, 400,000 men on foot that drew the sword. Now the people of Benjamin heard that the people of Yasharal had gone up to Mizpah, and the people of Yasharal said, tell us, how did this evil happen? Right? Because they're talking about a concubine that was cut in half in 12 pieces and sent throughout Yasharal. And it says, and it says, and they considered it evil. Right? It says, and so get what it says. Tell us, how does evil happen? It says, and the Levite, the husband, it says, and the Levite, the husband of the woman who was murdered, answered and said, I came to Gibeah that belongs to Benjamin, I and my concubine, and to spend the night. And the Levites Gibeah rose up against me and surrounded the house against me by night. They meant to kill me, and they violated my concubine, and she is dead. So I took hold of the concubine and cut her in pieces and sent her throughout all the country of the inheritance of Yasharal. He said, I sent a dead body through all the inheritance of Yasharal. You know what they just did? What happened when you dwell in the graveyard? He said he sent it all throughout the 12 tribes. It's just the same. That's the same thing when you send gossip, slander, hatred, envy, all those things you read in Romans. You send it all throughout Yasharal. You know what you just did? Slander, gossip, lying. You just made the whole place unclean. You made all of the 12 tribes unclean. When you cut a piece, how you say, a piece of a situation, other people's situation, and you start blasting it all over the place. It's the same thing. And then it says, and the leaders of Gibeah arose to me and surrounded the house against me by night, and they meant to kill me, and they violated my concubine, and she is dead. So I took my concubine and cut her in pieces and sent her all throughout all the country of the inheritance of Yasharal, for they committed an abomination and outrage in Yasharal, because they saying this about me, so I'm gonna just blast it out here. He did this to me, so I'm gonna blast it out here. This happened to me, so I'm gonna just blast it out here. They saying that's what they're doing. I'm gonna just send it all out. Sorry. And it says, abomination and outrage in Yasharal. Behold, you people, you know what he says? The country and all the inhabitants of Yasharal, for they have committed abomination and outrage in Yasharal. Behold, you people of Yasharal, all of you, give your advice and counsel here. He's like, give me your counsel. He already done did it already. He said, give me your counsel. What do you think they're going to counsel this man to do? And all the people arose as one man, saying, none of us will go to his tent, and none of us will return to his house. But now this is what we will do to Gibeah. We will go up against it by lot, and we will take men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Yasharal, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 of 10,000, and bring provisions for the people, that when they come, they may repay Gibeah of Benjamin for all the outrage that they have committed in Yasharal. So what are they going to do? Verse 8, and all the people arose as one man, saying, none of us will go to our tent, and none of us will return to our house, but now this is what we will do to Gibeah. What are they going to do? We will go up against it by lot, and we will take 10 men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Yasharal, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 of 10,000, to bring provisions for the people, that when they come, they may repay Gibeah of Benjamin for all the outrage that they have committed in Yasharal. So all the men of Yasharal gathered against the city and united as one man to create a war. Guess what 12 says? And the tribe of Yasharal sent men throughout all the tribe of Benjamin, saying, what evil is this that has taken place among you? Because you know what happens when you start approving of things? He said, you not only do them, but give approval to those who practice them, right? And it says right here, what evil is this that you have taken place among you? Now therefore give up the men, the worthless fellows of Gibeah, that we may put them to death and purge evil from Yasharal. But the Benjamites would not listen to the voice of their brothers, the people of Yasharal. He said, we ain't listening to you. He said, we ain't listening to nothing you say. And you say, why they doing that? There's a reason why they're not listening to what they say. Then the people of Benjamin came together out of the cities to Gibeah to go to battle against the people of Yasharal. Why do you think they're doing that? There's a reason why they're doing that. And the people of Benjamin mustered out of their cities on that day 26,000 men. What? Who drew the sword, besides the inhabitants of Gibeah, who mustered 700 chosen men. Among all these were 700 chosen men who were left-handed, every one who could sling stones at a hair and not miss. He said they were real skilled. It says, and the men of Yasharal, apart from Benjamin, mustered 400,000 men who drew sword. All these men were men of war. Right, you see what sin does? That's what happens. But it was a reason why. The people of Yasharal arose and went up to Bethel and inquired of Yahuwah, who shall go up first for us to fight against the people of Benjamin? And Yahuwah said, Yehuda shall go up first. That's the reason why. He said, why Yehuda got to go up first? Because Yehuda always goes up first to fight. But what do these people do? Right, going to Judges chapter 19, verse 1. Judges chapter 19, verse 1. And in those days, there was no king in Yasharal. There ain't no king, everybody. A certain Luite was sojourning in the remote parts of the hill country of Ephraim. So there ain't nobody around. Who took to himself a concubine of Bethlehem Yehuda, and his concubine was unfaithful to him, and she went away from him to her father's house. What do you mean unfaithful? She did an unclean act. What do you mean unfaithful? She left. But she wasn't, how you say, faithful. How you say? We don't get into that. It says, went away to his father's house, to the Bethlehem Yehuda, and was there 4 months. What do you mean she wasn't faithful? Why would a woman leave the man, the Levite, like they say, the Levite, and go to her father's house? He said, this is why. But these judges that were for unfaithful, going to Judges 19 and 1. Judges 19 and 1. Yeah, so that word for unfaithful, it says the word for unfaithful is zanah. Zanah. It says she what? To commit adultery. Fornication. That's what it means. That's what that word for unfaithful. She was a zanah. And after she did that act, she ran back to her father's house. Because she committed adultery and she was a zanah. And the man of Bethlehem Yehuda, he says, and we're going to verse 2, going back to ESV 19 and 1, because there was no king in Yasharal. Verse 2 says, and his concubine was a zanah to him. You mean adultery, fornicator. And she went away from him to her father's house to Bethlehem Yehuda, and was there some 4 months. So she left. You know how people say it. She separated. Yeah, man, she left you, boy. Look at you. You know that if you do that today, you know what's gonna happen to you. Well, you're gonna be a proverb in the byword. But they ain't gonna know the truth though. They're not gonna go to the truth. They're gonna blast that stuff out here. And guess what happened? She was there 4 months after she committed adultery and fornication. Then her husband arose and went after her. He's like, man, he went after her. And you know what? To speak kindly to her and to bring her back. He's like, I want you to come back. Amazingly, that's what Yahusha came to do. He came to speak kindly to her to make her come back. Why he want her to come back? He says he had with him his servants and a couple of donkeys. He said, I want you to come back. And get what happened? And he had a couple of servants, a couple of donkeys, and she brought him into her father's house. She had nothing against. She brought him in. And when the girl's father saw him, he came with joy. He's like, please get her out of here. He's like, please take her back. He came to me with joy. He was happy he came. Because, it's a burden for a man to have a daughter. He's like, man, I gotta please. Right? He was happy to see him too. And it says, and his father-in-law, right? And the girl's father made him stay. And he remained with him 3 days. Ain't that amazing? They were happy. They were joyful that he even came. He all forgiving and loving. He's forgiving and loving and compassionate man. He was like, I'll forgive you for the adultery that you committed and the fornication that you committed. Please come back with me. Because that's what happens when you start doing that. Then the people, everybody all joyful. You really forgive for the mistake. And he remained with him 3 days. Because in the Torah, a lot of that stuff people don't know. It says, and his father-in-law and the girl's father made him stay, and he remained 3 days. So he stayed there a while. So they ate and drank and spent the night there. And on the 4th day, they arose early in the morning, and he prepared to go. But the girl's father said to his son-in-law, strengthen your heart with a morsel of bread, and after that you may go. So the two of them sat and ate and drank together. They all reconciled together. They were all reconciled. That's a beautiful thing. They all forgave each other. He sat down. Everybody sat down. They all forgave each other. But that's a beautiful thing. But guess what happened? And the girl's father said to the man, be pleased to spend the night and let your heart be merry. And you know how he kept trying to keep him there? But let's see what happened. And when the man rose up to go, his father-in-law pressed him till he spent the night there again. Right? So had he not delayed after he got his woman back and just left, let's see what happened. And on the 5th day, he arose early in the morning to depart. 5 days he was there. He was supposed to be already gone. And the girl's father said, strengthen your heart and wait until the day declines. He's like, do it one more time. So they ate, both of them. He's like, they just keep eating over and over again. It says, and when the man and his concubine and his servants rose up to depart, his father-in-law and the girl's father said to him, behold, now the day has waned toward evening. Please spend the night. Notice how he's keeping them there. So what's really going on here? Please spend the night. Please spend the night. Please spend the night. And guess what happens? Behold, the day draws to its close. Lodge here and let your heart be merry. And tomorrow you shall arise early in the morning for your journey to go home. Notice how he kept doing this over and over and over again. And usually when people start repeating things over and over and over and over and over again like that, you got to get real suspicious of a Shadim. You got to get real suspicious. Because if Mashiach be not raised, let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. You know what he said? You got to get real suspicious. Why he keep trying to get me to eat and stay here all these days over and over and over again? Let's see. But the man would not spend the night. He's like, man, I'm tired of this. And he rose up and departed and arrived opposite Jubos. Now you see. And he left. Now you see. You got to get real suspicious now. you got to start getting real suspicious. When things start getting repeated over and over again, he said your spiritual, intellectual faculties need to start clicking in. He said, why is he trying to keep me here over and over and over again? You need to start praying. You need to start asking Yahuwah, what is going on? Remember, ain't no king, Ashar. They forsook Yahuwah. Everybody do it right in their own eyes. The man kept trying to get him to stay, but for some reason, the man wouldn't stay. He's like, why is he so kind? Why is he trying to keep me here? There's a reason why. Yahuwah trying to keep you somewhere. Sometimes we be like, man, let's go. Nah, I ain't doing this more. Sometimes Yahuwah be trying to keep you in a place. And you be like, man, why he got me locked up here? Why he made me, man, I can't do anything. Man, he took by a whole bunch of money. He did all this stuff. He done took all these things from me. He's like, what's going on? Because he's trying to keep you somewhere. And yes, but the man would not spend the night. He rose up and departed and arrived opposite Shabath, that is Jerusalem. That's what they got parentheses, but and had with him a couple of saddled donkeys, and his concubine was with him. He said, he got his woman back, she committed, he forgave her, they reconciled. The father was trying to get him to stay one more night, stay one more night. He's like, man, I ain't listening to you no more. I'm tired of this. I'm ready to get back home, get back to what I was doing. But Yahuwah, for some reason, he was trying to keep him there. And it says right here, and when they were near Shabath, the day was nearly over, and the servant said to his master, come now, let us return aside to the city of Jebusites and spend the night there. So the servant said that. So you had a man, her father was trying to keep him safe. Because he was realizing, man, this is unheard of for a man to come here and speak kindly to a woman who did him wrong and unfaithful and still forgive her and still want to reconcile. Please stay here a little longer. And get what it says, come now, let us return aside to the city of the Jebusites and spend the night in it. And his master said, we will not turn aside into the city of the foreigners. He's like, we ain't doing that. You crazy? These people foreigners who do not belong to the people of Yashar. Are you crazy? He said, you want me to turn aside to these people? But we will pass through on to Gibeah, so he thought. He said, you don't want to be among the foreigners. Let's go to the people of Yashar, because you're supposed to be able to be safe among the people of Yashar. You're supposed to be able to be safe among y'all, Yashar. Like they say. Come join us. He's like, we're supposed to be safe. Let's see what happened. And he said to his young man, come and let us draw near to one of these places and spend the night in Gibeah or at Ramah. So they passed on and went their way, and the sun went down on them near Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin. And they turned aside there to go in and spend the night at Gibeah. And he went in and sat down in the open square of the city. For no one took them into his house to spend the night. I thought you were supposed to, let's go among Yashar. They supposed to let us in the house. Right? Nobody will let them spend the night. We supposed to be family. And he out here sleeping outside. And what happened? And behold, an old man was coming from his work in the field at evening. The man was from the hill country of Ephraim. He was joining in Gibeah, and the men of that place were Benjamites. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the traveler in the open square of the city. And the old man said, where are you going? And where do you come from? And he said to him, we are passing from Benjamin to Yehuda to the remote parts of the hill country of Ephraim, from which I come. I went into Bethlehem in Yehuda, and I am going to the house of Yahuwah. But no one has taken me into his house. He's like, nobody taking me in. We have straw, you know what he said? We have straw to feed our donkeys with bread and wine, and your female servant and the young man with your servants. There is no lacking of anything. The old man said, Shalom be to you, and I will care for all of your wants. Only do not spend the night in the square. So he brought him into his house and gave the donkey feed, and they washed their feet, and they ate and drank. It says, and they were making their hearts merry. Behold, the men of the city, worthless fellows, surrounded the house, beating at the door. And they said to the old man, the master's house, bring out the man who came into your house that we may know him. So they were men with men. Just like Romans 1. They exchanged the image of Yahuwah for mortal men. And they became in the passion and the lust, and they wanted the man. He said, give him out here so we may know him. The man, it says, and the man, the master of the house, went out to them and said to them, "No, my brothers," huh? I thought you're supposed to be safe among Yasharal. He said, "No, my brothers, Benjamin. No, do not act so wickedly. Since this man has come into my house, do not do this vile thing." He said, "Why are you going to do that? Behold, here are my virgin daughter and his concubine." They threw out the concubine and the virgin daughter. Now, amazingly, what do you think would have happened if he would have stayed at her father's house with the concubine? What do you think would have happened? He was trying to get him to stay over and over and over again. What do you think if they would have stayed another day or maybe 2 days? Might would have been a different outcome. But let's see what happened. And behold, here are the virgin and the daughter and his concubine. Let me bring them out now. Violate them and do with them what seems good to you. Exactly, because there's no king in Yasharal, and everybody's doing what's right in their own eyes. Even the man now, and even the other man giving out his virgin daughter. Everybody doing what's right in their own eyes. And get what happened? Violate them and go with them what seems good to you. But against this man, do not do this outrageous thing. You shouldn't do both of them. But guess what? That's what happens. You become darkened in your understanding, just like Shaul said. It says, and the men would not listen to him. So the men seized his concubine and made her go out to them. So you see all these. Now here you have a man who just forgave his wife for his concubine for the whoredom that she committed, fornication and adultery. And then you see him out here throwing her out here now to commit some fornication and adultery. All because he ain't stayed at his father's house. Because they were all joyful and happy. Like I say, he was all kind to them, trying to get them to sit down and eat every single day. Trying to rekindle that love that was gone or whatever was there. And then he left, and you could still see that he still didn't have no love for her. Even the forgiveness that he gave was fake. It was all fake. He wanted to speak kindly to her, but it was all a lie. He was pretending the whole time. He really didn't even care about her. He was pretending. That's why he was able to just throw her out there like that. He pretended the whole time. So the man seized his concubine and made her go out to them. And when they knew her and abused her all night until the morning, and they went out to her and abused her all night until the morning. He's like, this is what you get for doing all that adultery and to get against me. So you see, he still had that stuff in his heart. He still had it in his heart. That's why he threw her out there. He ain't forgive that woman. They all joyful and happy, and his father, and they're all eating, and he's like, stay one more night, stay one more night, stay one more night. But he ain't really love that woman. Like he was speaking kindly to her. He was fake kindness. It was so fake. He was pretending. And by him pretending, let's see what happened. And it says right here, and as the dawn, it says all to the next morning, night into the morning. And as the dawn began to break, they let her go. And as the morning appeared, the woman came and fell down at the door of the man's house where her master was until it was light. And her master rose up in the morning, and when he opened the doors of the house and went out to go on his way, behold, there was his concubine lying at the door of the house. with her hands on the threshold. He ain't care not a bit. You see how fake that stuff is? And they were getting drunk too. They were making themselves merry. They was eating drink for tomorrow we die. But he ain't died, the woman did. He said, that's what pretending do. And guess what pretending also do? And he said, and get what he said? Lying at the door of the house and her hands on the threshold. And he said to her, get up, let us keep be going. You see what he just did? He threw her outside. He ain't care about it the first time. He told him, I'm gonna speak kindly and make her come back. He faked that. Then he took her over to the house, threw her outside, didn't care about it. And then he let her stay on the ground. And you know what he did after that? Get up. You weak woman, what you doing? You was sleeping around before. So what? You can't sleep with a bunch of men and get up like you did last time? He was fake. His forgiveness, his offering for forgiveness to her was fake. Because he doing what's right in his own eyes. And being that people do this pretending, and people are like, why David say, search me, O Yahuwah, and see if there's any thoughts in me. Search me, please. And see if there's any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way of righteousness. Please, don't leave me like that. Because there's a reason why he's saying that. People have no idea. And he says right here, and he said to her, get up, let us go. But there was no answer. Then he put her on the donkey, and the man rose up and went away to his home. And he put a dead body on his donkey. And you know what happens when you have an unclean thing on your body, on the donkey, and you just carrying it around? You're like in a graveyard. You're literally like riding with a bunch of demons. You think about all the demons that slept with her that night, and then he put her on the donkey, and you think about it. He didn't have no care or no compassion for her. He faked his pretending, and then he put her on the donkey, and then what he did? And when he entered his house, then he got to his house after he supposedly supposed to forgive her and speak kindly to her to get her to come back. But he ended up bringing a dead body back to his house, which means he really didn't care. He didn't care. He really didn't forgive her. He still had it in his heart. And then what happened after that pretending all that's over? He took a knife and taking hold of his concubine, and he divided her limb by limb into 12 pieces and sent her throughout all the territory of Yasharah. So who the one really caused the war that they were going to fight? 400,000 men here and there. The pretender who pretended to be sincere in forgiving somebody else. He caused the whole thing. All because he had this thing in his heart and mind. This demon that had his whole mind wrapped around what he did to her, did to him. And you know what he did? He pretended and went to the man's house just to get her to come back. But in actuality, he never forgave her for what she did. He never truly did. Why do you think that father was like, please stay here, please, please stay here. Eat together, because he knew. he knew that he didn't really love her. Like, he could see it in his eyes. Like, he loves her. They were all joyful. He was like, please stay one more night. Because you think you're gonna forgive somebody, you just gonna happen overnight. Like, I'm gonna give you, you're gonna come back. Nah, you gotta rekindle the love that you had. It ain't like, you gotta rekindle it. And the man knew it. Her father knew it. You gotta keep rekindling the love. Stay one more night. We're all happy and joyful. Stay one more night. We're gonna get this thing back. We're gonna make it back right. We're gonna keep it going. We're gonna mix it together. We're gonna get it right. But he wanted to get out of there. But he wasn't sincere though. But you'll see what happened. And he took a knife and took hold of his concubine, and he divided her limb by limb into 12 pieces and sent her throughout all the territory of Yasharah, and all who saw it said, such a thing has never happened or been seen from the day that the people of Yasharal came out of the land of Mizraim until today. You know how wicked that is? He said, man, we ain't never seen nothing like this before. Man, the spirit, the demon, the Shadim that came through here, but we ain't never seen this spirit before. This a whole nother being right here. That's the levels of this stuff, though. Listen, man, this thing on another level. He says to consider it and take counsel and speak. He said, take counsel and speak. Somebody got to say something about this. This is on a whole nother level right here. Right? So going back over the only reason we did that, because it was for a reason. And it says right here, skipping over, going back to Judges chapter 12, verse 20, verse 19. And it says right here, and the people of Yasharal rose in the morning and encamped against Gibeah. Now you see, he said, hold up. This whole war wasn't even supposed to happen. But being that some people did some foolish stuff. And it said right here, and the men of Yasharal went out to fight against Benjamin. And the men of Yasharal drew the battle line against them at Gibeah. And the people of Benjamin came out to Gibeah and destroyed on that day 22,000 men of the Israelites, Yasharal. Why? Because of a necromancer, a Shadim, hearkening to wizards and sorcerers. A spirit. Caused all this. 22,000 people died because of that one person. And his acts and his unforgiveness and whatever he had in his heart. 22,000 people. But the people of the men of Yasharal took courage again and formed the battle line the same place where they had formed it on the first day. And the people of Yasharal went up and wept before Yahuwah until the evening. And they inquired of Yahuwah, shall we again draw near to fight against our brothers, the people of Benjamin? And Yahuwah said, go up against them. Why? Because Yahuwah gave them up to do what was evil. He gave them up to gossip, slander, murder. He gave them up. Why do you think he gave them up to do it? He's not good. There's a reason why. And yet, you know what happens after that? So the people of Yasharal came near against people of Benjamin the second day. And Benjamin went up against them in Gibeah in the second day and destroyed 18,000 men of the people of Yasharal. Another 18,000 gone. And it said right here, and all these men who drew the sword, then all the people of Yasharal, the whole army, went up and came to battle, Bethal and wept. And they sat there before Yahuwah and fasted that day until evening, and they offered a burnt offering and a peace offering before Yahuwah. And the people of Yasharal inquired of Yahuwah, for the ark of the covenant of Elohim was there in those days. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, ministered before it those days, saying, shall we go out once more in battle against our brothers, the people of Benjamin, or shall we cease? How many times this man was asking him, the man to stay at his house with his concubine? He kept asking him over and over again. And the man was like, please stay one more night. He agreed to stay one more night. He agreed to stay one more night. He agreed to stay one more night. But guess what happened? And the people of Benjamin, or shall we cease? And Yahuwah said, go up, for tomorrow I will give them into your hand. He said, go up. So Yasharal set men in ambush around Gibeah. And the people of Yasharal went up against the people of Benjamin on the third day and set themselves in array against Gibeah as other times. And the people of Benjamin went out against the people and were drawn away from the city. And as it says, and as at other times they began to strike and kill some of the people in the highway, one of which goes up to Bethal and the others to Gibeah, and in the open country about 30 men of Yasharal. And the people of Benjamin said, they are routed before us, as at the first. But the people of Yasharal said, let us flee and draw them away from the city to the highways. And all the men of Yasharal rose up out of their place and set themselves in array at Tamar. And the men of Yasharal, who were in ambush, rushed out to their place for Meribah, and there came against Gibeah 10,000 chosen men out of Yasharal, and the battle was hard. But the Benjamites did not know that the disaster was close upon them. And Yahuwah defeated Benjamin before Yasharal, and the people of Yasharal destroyed 25,100 men of Benjamin that day. All these were men who drew the sword, so the people of Benjamin saw that they had been defeated. Like, all this happened. It says, and then the men of Yasharal gave ground on Benjamin because they had trusted the men in ambush whom they had set against Gibeah. Like, skipping over. Going to chapter 21, skipping over. It says, now the men of Yasharal had sworn at Mizpah, no one of us shall give his daughter in marriage to Benjamin. Like, man, we ain't giving none of our women to them. You see what they did? He said, ain't nobody ever did nothing like this before. You see all this stuff? But they didn't know that pretender is the one who did it. They didn't even know that. And he presented himself all innocent. Yeah, you know, when they came up, I said, man, this evil stuff that they did, that Benjamin did, you know how he said it? He came to Yasharal and said that. He said, tell us what this evil that you have done. This evil Benjamin that they did. But in actuality, it was his evil that did it all. It had Benjamin was already evil, but it was just the fact that the demons were working together. Because the spirits were working together. That's the only reason. To bring Yasharal to a big old giant war. They all work together. And that priest, he felt like he was so honest. But he wasn't. And guess what? He caused the whole thing. It's because he ain't really forgive that woman. And he really wanted it. And he really had something in his heart. It just manifested and caused the whole thing because he was pretending the whole time. Verse 21, it says, now the men of Yasharal had sworn at Mizpah, no one of us shall give his daughter in marriage to Benjamin. Now, everybody hate each other. Now, it's, you know how it was? Don't give your daughters over to foreigners or to other gods and Molech and all that. Nobody want to give their daughters to Benjamin anymore. You supposed to marry people for your own people. Ain't none of that no more. they ain't trying to do that no more. We not marrying your daughters to our daughters. Guess what happens? And the people came to Bethel and sat till evening before Yahuwah, and they lifted up their voice and wept bitterly. And they said, "Oh Yahuwah, Elohim Yasharal, why has this happened in Yasharal?" Now they ask him why. Because there was no king in Yasharal. And everybody did what was right in their own eyes. And the next day, the people of Yasharal rose early and built an altar and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. But then you see all of that. Yahuwah, you see, why did Yahuwah let that happen? Because he had an occasion against Benjamin. Because Benjamin was doing all that evil stuff. And having men with men in the mountains. He had an occasion against them. So things had to happen in order for him to get that there. Get it to that point. But it says right here, why has this happened in Yasharal? That today there should be one tribe lacking in Yasharal. He said, we ain't got all 12. He said, we ain't united. He says, and the next day the people of Yasharal rose early and built there an altar and offered a burnt offering and peace offering. And the people of Yasharal said, which of all the tribes of Yasharal did not come up to the assembly of Yahuwah? For they had taken a great oath concerning him who did not come up to Yahuwah at Mizpah, saying, he shall surely be put to death. And the people of Yasharal had compassion for Benjamin, their brother, and said, one tribe is cut off from Yasharal this day. What shall we do for wives which those who are left? Since we have sworn by Yahuwah that we will not give them our daughters for wives. Why? Because they consider them evil. Get what happens? And they said, what? It says, and they said, what one is there of the tribe of Yasharal that did not come up to the Yahuwah in Mizpah? And behold, no one had come to the camp from Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For when the people were mustered, behold, not one of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead was there. So the congregation sent 12,000 of their bravest men there and commanded them, go and strike the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, also the women and the little ones. This is what you shall do. Every male and every woman that has lain with a male shall devote to destruction. He said man and woman. So men with men. If a male has laid with a man and a woman has laid with a man, he said devote them to destruction. Why? And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins who had not known a man by lying with him, and they brought them to the camp of Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. Then the whole congregation sent word to the people of Benjamin who were at the rock of Rimmon and proclaimed peace to them. And Benjamin returned at that time, and they gave them the women whom they had saved alive from Jabesh Gilead, but there were not enough for them. Why? Because they were all sleeping with each other. Benjamin was all sleeping with each other, men with men. So they had to get some women to give to them to get them out of that situation. Because they were all messed up in the mind. They were all, Yahuwah gave them up. And they had all these spirits over there, these demons. So they had to like literally give them women in order to cure them from all of that things that they were doing. Not even knowing that by sending them over there, they had to kill other people to do it. That's even a double whammy. They killing other people to do it. They took counsel without permission from Yahuwah to kill other people, to take other women to give to other people. And they didn't even ask Yahuwah to do it. Go up and kill some people who didn't come up, and then give the women to Benjamin. Right? Verse 14, and Benjamin returned at that time, and they gave them the women whom they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh Gilead, but they were not enough for them. And the people had compassion on Benjamin, because the Yahuwah had made a breach in the tribe of Yasharal. He said they had compassion. Then the elders of the congregation, we almost finished. What shall we do for the wives for those who are left, since the women are destroyed out of Benjamin? Say what? The what? The women are destroyed out of Benjamin. This is going to happen to you if all the women get taken out. You're going to be men with men. What do you think happened in the world today? All the women want to be alone. They all want to go be by themselves. Vacation by themselves. Be by alone. They don't want to be with a man no more. They want a robot. They want bots. They don't want none of this stuff no more. They don't want nobody want to be married anymore. What you think gonna happen? Everybody want to be alone. They say it's more peaceful that way. Positive thoughts. Nobody wants to be. What do you think happening? What you think gonna happen if they keep doing it? Ain't gonna be no more. They're gonna be men with men. He said, I got a whole congregation of men, ain't no women. Be like, man, what you think gonna happen? He said, y'all better find some women quick. Look at this world, and people think, oh, that's not true. I said, okay. Okay, you go to a prison. Ain't no women in there. That's why he said male and female. There's a reason why he did that. It's crazy, but it's true though. It says, then the elders of the congregation, what shall we do for the wives for those who are left, since the women are destroyed out of Benjamin? And they said, there must be an inheritance for the survivors of Benjamin, that a tribe not be blotted out of Yasharal, yet we cannot give them wives from our daughters. He's like, we ain't giving our daughters to them. You see the behaviors that they have? You know what type of children they're going to have? You know what they're going to produce? That's what they're thinking. But let's see what happened. For the people of Yasharal had sworn and cursed, be he who gives his wives to Benjamin. They swore to this. So they said, because they believe in them curses. You know, people don't believe in curses. They believe them curses. Like, man, this is going to happen to you if you do that. They believe them curses. It's like, this is going to happen to you if you do that. Most people don't know death and life in the power of the tongue. That's why they made that curse. And they like, we got to keep that. If we give our wives, if we do opposite to what we said they curse, we're going to die. Just like these movies, these scary movies they be saying. They be making these things and they be saying these things out of their mouth. And that stuff be real. People be thinking that stuff is fake. And you be repeating it on the television. Not even knowing what you're saying. Verse 19. So they said, behold, there is a yearly feast of Yahuwah at Shiloh, which is in the north Bethel, in the east of the highway that goes up from Bethel to Shechem, in the south of Lebanon. And they commanded the people of Benjamin, saying, go and lie in ambush in the vineyards and watch. If the daughters of Shiloh come out to dance in the dances, then come out of the vineyards and snatch each man his wife from the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. He said, go kidnap them. You do that today, you see what happens. You go ahead. What do you think will happen when you do that today? You going to prison for the rest of your life. Matter of fact, you're going to be right there among men with men. You can't do that. You know, some people say, this is legal. Right? No, it's not. He says, and they commanded the people of Benjamin, saying, go and lie in ambush at the vineyards and watch. And if the daughters of Shiloh come out and dance in the dances, then come out of the vineyards and snatch each man his wife and his daughter of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. And when their fathers or their brothers come to complain to us, we will say to them, grant them graciously to us, because we did not take for each man of them his wife in battle, neither did you give them to them, else you would now be guilty. So they're like, we'll make this scheme up, and then we'll create this whole situation and this lie, and then we'll just say, hey, you know what, this is what happened, and this is what will happen to you, you'll be guilty, and then this is what happened, and all these things just so they can have wives, and they schemed it. All because they thought they wanted to say your brothers were evil, and they had this curse they put on themselves. But then at the same time, other people were affected, and other people were being cursed because of the curse that they had, saying they won't give their daughters to Benjamin. Verse 23, and the people of Benjamin did so and took their wives according to the number from the dancers, whom they carried off. Then they went and returned to their inheritance and rebuilt the towns and lived in them. They calmed down. There's no more men with men anymore. That's literally what he's saying. It says, and the people of Yasharal departed from there at that time, every man to his tribe and family. And they went out from every man to his inheritance. In those days there was no king in Yasharal. And everybody did what was right in their own eyes, because they all were pretending. Right? I know that was a lot, but then at the same time, right? And he said it was needful to understand it. Why? Because a lot of people don't know. But at the same time, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 37. We're almost finished. Sirach 37. Sirach chapter 37. Let's see. The book of Sirach chapter 37. The book of Sirach chapter 37. Yeah. The book of Sirach chapter 37 verse 1. It says, Every friend saith, I am a friend also, but there is a friend which is only a friend in name. Right? It says, is it not a grief unto death when a companion, a friend, is turned into an enemy? Was it a grief unto death when his companion was turned into an enemy? No, when that man took that concubine back, that man still had that stuff in his heart. And you know what happened after that? Verse 3, O wicked imaginations, whence camest thou in to cover the earth with deceit. You see what happened to him? He said, you came in with deceit. He came in, he was singing this, baby, 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 saying all this stuff, kind stuff to him. Father was joyful. He was happy. They were eating and drinking. But he had so much wicked imaginations in his heart. Matter of fact, he had deceit. And he was pretending the whole time. And let's see what happened. Verse 4 says, there is a companion which rejoices in the prosperity of a friend, but in the time of trouble will be against him. Right? And get what it says. There is a companion which helpeth his friend from the belly, and taketh up the buckler against the enemy. Forget not thy friend in thy mind, and be not unmindful of him in thy riches. Every counselor extolleth counsel, right? But there is some who counsel for himself or herself, right? You understand, when people counsel you to do something, sometimes that counsel be for themselves, and they be pretending. They don't actually be counseling you for the right reasons. The same way Yashar was counseling themselves, they were pretending, know good and well, they already formed themselves a curse. Benjamin ain't know they performed a curse, but they were pretending, hey, Benjamin, y'all got some more wives, you need some more women? Here you go over here and get some more women. Matter of fact, go over here. But all these are all a part of deception. They say they'll counsel for yourself. Here, everybody know what they need. He said you'll counsel for yourself. Lest he cast a lot upon thee and say unto thee, thy way is good. Isn't that what they were doing? Thy way is good, and afterwards he stand on the other side to see what shall befall thee. That's what he did. That's what the man did when he cast his concubine aside. He said, your way is good. Your way is good too. Go snatch some wives up. Your way is good too. But everybody doing this because they're pretending. And get what it says. And he says unto thee, thy way is good, and afterwards he stand on the other side to see what will happen. That's what people do in the world today. They'll give you a counsel for yourself, and then they'll see and they'll wait. Man, why he ain't fulfilled my counsel? Why he ain't doing it? There's a reason why he ain't doing it. You say, why would he not do it? Because sometimes Yahuwah exposes you, and then people saying, why? Because he'll expose you for what you say. Verse 8 says, beware of a counselor and know before what he need. He said, before what need he hath. For he will counsel for himself, lest he cast it out upon thee and say upon thee, that way is good, and go and after he or she stand on the other side to see what shall befall thee. Verse 10 says, consult not with one that suspecteth thee. He said, don't you consult with somebody who's suspecting you of something. Because they only going to counsel to fulfill what they suspecting you of. They like, I knew that person was that. They'll say do something, but it was only because of suspicion that they thought you were going to do something. So they'll counsel you in that suspicion just to say they were right about their suspicion. It ain't going to be honest counsel. It'll be pretending. And guess what it says? And know, it says right here, counsel not with one that suspect thee, and hide thy counsel from such as envy thee. Why? Because somebody envy you and they give you counsel. Why would a woman get counsel from a man that's jealous of her husband? That actually is no sense. Why would a woman get counsel from a pastor that's jealous of a man, of her husband? Why would a woman get counsel from a person who's envious and jealous and want that person to fall secretly? She don't know. He's like, oh yeah, we had an argument about 5 years ago, me and that such and such person, and you know what? It's okay. You know, we've gotten over it. You know how people say? We've gotten over it. And then the woman the man suggests something for that woman to do, and she married to the man that he had an argument with in the past. What do you think that man just did? He said, in the past, we didn't know that y'all had an argument and a fight before about some money or something, disagreement. And the woman go get counsel from that man suggests her to do something, or he suggested his son to do something, or a family member. not knowing that person still got something in their heart against the man that they had a dispute about money, and he counseled his son to fall, or he counseled the woman to make something happen within their household. He said, this won't happen. Okay. This is the book of Deuteronomy. A lot of people say that. Deuteronomy chapter 19. Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 1. The book of Deuteronomy, people saying, ain't nobody want to do that. And he said, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 19. Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 1. and 4. It says, this is the provision of the manslayer, who by fleeing there may save his life. If anyone kills his neighbor unintentionally without having hated him in the past, you know, I say it's unintentional. These people say, I give it unintentional counsel, but you hated that person in the past. You had a dispute with that person in the past. That person did something to you in the past. Right? As when someone goes into the forest with his neighbor to cut wood, and his hand swings the axe and to cut down a tree, and the head slips from the handle and strikes his neighbor, so that he dies, he may flee from one of the cities and live, lest the avenger of blood. Then David said, he said, you bloody men. He said, deliver me from these bloody men. I hate those who hate you. But he's trying to show you something. Avenger of blood, in his hot anger, pursue the manslayer and overtake him, because the way is too long, and strike him fatally, though the man did not deserve to die, since he had not hated his neighbor in the past. So you have a neighbor or a friend or a foe or a husband or a wife or an individual that hated somebody in the past, and then you get counsel from them. You need to know what you hated him for. What disputes did y'all have? And why are you giving me counsel for the person that you had a dispute for some years ago? Have you gotten over that? So why should I take your counsel and bring it into my household? He said, he ain't never hate nobody in the past. He said, right? He said, avenger of blood, right? So this is the book of Ezekiel chapter 21. We almost finished. Ezekiel 21. Ezekiel 21, I believe it's. I think it's 21. Ezekiel, Yakaziel, Yakaziel 22. Ezekiel 22 and not 6. Yakaziel 22 and 6. People saying, why you have to know this stuff? You have no idea. Ezekiel 22 and 6. Behold, the prince of Yasharal in you, the princes in Yasharal in you, every one according to his power, have been bent on shedding blood. Why do you think that Dawid said, I hate those who hate you? You see what they say against you, Yahuwah? You see what they say about you? There's a reason why. Father and mother are treated with contempt in you, and sojourners suffer extortion in your midst. And the fatherless and the widows are wronged in you. So if these people have done this in the past, and have done this to people, why would you get counsel for them? Were they envious of these people? Were they jealous of these people? Did they have anything against these people? And did they do it on purpose? Do you even know it? Were they suspicious of these people? Did they do it on purpose? Did they do it through deceit? They try to see if they are really that person? Were they crafty? Nobody knows. Verse 8, you have despised my Kudash things and profaned my Shabbats. There are men in you who slander the shed blood. So has he ever slandered your husband or your wife or your children? Has he ever slandered you or anybody in your extended life? Has he ever done that in the past? So if he's done that, he's hated him in the past before. Which means that if he's giving counsel in the future, you might want to listen and say, hold up, why he giving counsel in the future? Did he slander that man like a long time ago? Did he slander that person? Did he say that about that person? So why he still giving counsel? And why are you accepting it? Because you ain't supposed to take no counsel from him. He's slandering to shed blood. It says slandering to shed blood, and people in you who eat on mountains, idols, they commit lewdness in your midst, and in you men uncover their father's nakedness, they sleep with their father's wives. In you they violate women who are unclean in their mystery. One commits abomination with his neighbor's wife, adultery, like the man's concubine. Another lewdly defiles his daughter-in-law. He sleeps with his own daughter. He sleeps with the son's wife that he is ready to marry. Another violates his sister, his father's daughter. She's his own sister. In you, they take bribes to shed blood. You take interest and profit and make gain of your neighbors by extortion. So why would you get counsel from these people? But me you have forgotten, declares Yahuwah. That's why David said, he said, you bloody men. He said, you men, he said, you bloody men, Yahuwah. I hate them who hate you. I loathe those who don't like you. Who can count your thoughts, your infinite thoughts and understanding? He said, search me, O Yahuwah, and make sure there ain't nothing in me. There's a reason why he said that. There's a reason why he said that, right? Right, going back to CHayParach chapter 37, we almost finished. 37 and 9. It says right here, verse 9, 37 and 9. And say unto these, let's go to verse 10. Sorry. Consult not with one that suspecteth thee, and hide thy counsel with such that envy thee. So you don't know. And it also says, neither consult with a woman touching her in whom she is jealous. A jealous woman? You know how many women jealous? You be like, man, that woman ain't jealous. Man, these women are jealous, envy. He said, why would you get counsel, or another woman get counsel from a jealous woman? What you think, demon? What do you think that demon gonna give you? That envious demon, that Shadim, that Abunalet, that one who works with Abunalet and offers. They're gonna manipulate your emotions like offers is, and draw you to anger and wrath and bitterness. Hey, what do you think that person gonna do? I'm gonna get counsel from her. She envious and jealous. Why would you do that? Neither with a coward in the matters of war. He's like, you a coward. What do you think that coward gonna do? Just like the men of Yasharal. What did they do? When Caleb and Yahusha stood up and stood the people, what did they do? They brought back an evil report, made everybody mumble and grumble, and he would say, oh, y'all gonna be on it. Y'all gonna be, you not getting in the kingdom. They cowards. They scared of the Raphaim, the Zamzum, they scared of the long necks, they scared of the tall people. They scared, they like grasshoppers. That's what happens. Why would you take counsel from them? And those were the 10 of the tribes. He's like, why you take counsel from them? It says, nor with a merchant concerning exchange. Oh, with money? Why would you take counsel from somebody who just trying to sell you something? All they're gonna do is counsel you to get that money. They'll be like, yeah, you know, this right here, yeah, this right here, do that. Yeah, you see this thing right here? You can buy this extra thing. It's right here for you to take with you to your house. 7,000 shekels, right? Or whatever it may be, dinar. And it said right here, nor with a buyer of selling. All they do is sell things. All they're gonna do is counsel you to get that money. They're not gonna counsel you in righteous counsel. Nor with a envious man of thankfulness. Right, an envious person. Oh, that person's envious and jealous of my husband. They had a dispute about money, and he wanted 20%. He wanted to give him 20%. He wanted 40%, and they disputed. They almost started fighting. And you thinking like, yeah, you know, he envious of what he has. You ever thought about that? And then you gonna take counsel from him, and then guess what happens? Now your whole family destroyed. He said, yeah, that weak man over there, you see him over there, he ain't nothing, but it was all him who made it happen so he can make himself get back at him for the things that he did. And he said, the princes do this. They be setting people up. People don't even know it though. And it says, an envious man of thankfulness, nor with an unmerciful man touching kindness. Oh, there you go. Who is that? The man from Bethlehem, Yehuda, right? Going to the house of Yehuda, going back to Yehuda, right? Get his concubine. But he was unmerciful and threw her outside. Matter of fact, he pretended to be kind too. And he caused a whole war and many other things. Nor touching kindness, nor with the slothful man in any work. He said, you slow. He's like, man, you real slow with that. And he said, like a tortoise. He said, why would you want to be like a tortoise? That's a reptile. It belongs in water. It eat plants, but you eat meat. And you want to be like a tortoise. And it says right here, sorry, but it says right here, nor with a hireling for a year of finishing work. He getting ready to end his work. You know how people say, I'm getting ready to go on vacation. You know how you be at the job, or you was at a job before, or you was at a place and he was getting ready to go on that long 2-week vacation. Them people like, man, I'm leaving early today. It's 2 o'clock. What you need? Yeah, just go do it. Who cares? They don't even care about their counsel. They're not thinking about it. They're not really meditating on the bar about their counsel. They're thinking about their vacation and going overseas or going places. They ain't thinking about you. And by the time you get your counsel, you can be like, yeah, just go, not even thinking about it. Next thing you know, you're in some mess when he come back, or what happened. He said, you are hireling or finish your work, nor with an idle servant of much business. He said, he got a lot of work to do. He said, I got this to do, that to do, this and that, that. Man, the last thing I need to be hearing your stuff, right? He said, you don't want to get counsel from that person. That person is busy. I got a lot of stuff to do. Why would you go get counsel from that person? Get what it says. Nor with a idle servant much business. Hearken not unto these in any matter of counsel. And people say, we almost finished. He said, why? Verse 12 says, but be continually with a righteous man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of Yahuwah, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee if thou miscarry, if you make a mistake. And let thy counsel of thine own heart stand, for there is no man more faithful unto thee than it. He said, you got to grow. You know, he said, you got to be able to, your members exercise to discern between good and evil. You need to do that. It says, for a man's mind is sometimes wont to tell him more than 7 watchmen. Huh? You mean 7 celestial circles. Than 7 watchmen that sit above in a high tower. You can see everything. He said, you able to see even more than 7 watchmen on the tower. He said, I just keep the feast in the muaz and 7 celestial circles. He said, man, you're going to have to see way more than that to understand what's just been said. You're going to have to see way more than that. He said, you have no choice but to grow. Or you're going to find yourself always getting counsel, and then you know, them people you don't even know, you ain't really discerning what they really need, and you're going to be bouncing here and to and fro in their counsel, not even knowing that you can't hear the voice of Yahuwah, you ain't grown, and you ain't seeing nothing, and then you're going to be entangled. You're going to be wasting a lot of time and years. And you might even have your stuff destroyed because they're giving you erratic counsel. Through erratic necromancing mediums they channeling, or some envious and jealous dispute that they got with somebody, or some other things that they have going on with somebody else, and then you go get counsel from them, and next thing you know, this man only counsel you to make your stuff more and more erratic and destroyed because he had envious and jealous of you the whole time. Or envious and jealous of your family the whole time, and you don't even know it. That's what happens. And this is what happens. And above all, guess what it says, verse 15, and above all this, pray to the Most High Yahuwah. That's what they should have been doing all the judgment. You know, he said, when it came time to do some evil stuff and do some evil plotting and stuff, he said, you should have been praying. But now, he said, pray to the Most High that he will direct thy way in truth. That's what you're supposed to do. But you know, let these people trick you. That's what happens. That's what happens, right? Last couple things. This is a book of, man, there's a lot more. This is a book of, this is the book of, right, this is the book of Malachi. Malachi chapter 2. in verse 1. Malachi chapter 2, verse 10. Malachi 2 and 10. Have we not all one Father? That's what David said. We read that. He said, we have one Ab. Has not one Elohim created us? Why then are we faithless to one another? He said, why are we doing this to one another? Profaning the covenant of our fathers. Yehuda has been faithless, and the abomination has been committed in Yasharal and in Jerusalem. Isn't that what they were doing in Judges, Yeshaphatim? For Yehuda has profaned the sanctuary of Yahuwah, which he loves, and has married the daughters of a foreign god. He married the daughter of a foreign Elohim. Isn't that what Shamshun did? Isn't that what they were doing? He said he married a foreign Elohim. And guess what happened? May Yahuwah cut off the tents of Yaakov, any descendants of a man who does this, who brings an offering to Yahuwah of hosts. And this second thing you do, you cover Yahuwah's altar with tears, with weeping and groaning, because he no longer regards the offering or accepts it with favor from your hand. But you say, why does he not? Why don't he do that? Why he do it? Because Yahuwah was witness between you and the wife of your youth. He said, that's why. Because Yahuwah don't play about that stuff. You know what people say. Yahuwah don't be playing. To whom you have been faithless, though she is your companion and your wife by covenant. Did he not make them one with a portion of the Ruach in their union? And what was the one Elohim seeking? What's the whole point of this whole covenant that you make? He was seeking godly or righteous offspring. He wanted righteous descendants. So guard yourselves in your Ruach. Why are you saying guard yourself in your Ruach? Because in the second, third watch, what happens? He said, you will not suffer your house to be broken into. Amazingly, when did that thing happen with the man he cut his concubine over? When they threw her outside. It happened at night. It happened at night. It happened in the second and third watch of the night. It's going to happen in your house and get broken into. And you're going to be pretending. And as a matter of fact, the necromancers, the wizards, the mediums, they say the Ayud who speak foolish things about the Father. Those wizards, the knowing ones. All these things are going to take place. And it says right here, it says, so guard yourselves in your Ruach, and let none of you be faithless to the wife of your youth. Why? Because you're going to end up doing something you should not do. For the man who does not love his wife, but divorces her, says Yahuwah, the Elohim Yasharal, covers his garment with violence. And what happened to the man? What he do to that woman? What he do? Man, he did violence to that woman. You see what he did? He put her away. He had her. She committed a mistake. He went there, joyful, along, happy, kind, speak kind words. Took her with her. They were always together. And then, what he did? He put her away again and cast her out of the house. He cast her out of the house. That's what he did when he threw her out of the house. He threw her out of his house. He wrote a bill of divorcement and sent her out of the house. He threw her out of the house. Because he was already, remember, he was already feeling a certain way. You think, he ain't feeling a certain way. Yeah, he was. He said, you will cover his garment with violence, says Yahuwah of hosts. So guard yourselves in your Ruach, and do not be faithless. Why? You better guard your mind. He said, yeah, somebody did this to me. This person committed adultery with me. This person did fornication with me. This person did this and that. Man, this stuff bring you to murder. So you need to guard yourself in your ruach against Abunalet, against Alphas, against the Koros, against, how you say, against the demons of the dark regions, the Shadim, Alphas, right? You're going to need to guard yourself from these beings. Asmodeus, Mastama, El-Salbi, Asabi. All these beings manipulate emotions and anger and wrath and murder. They all work with Abunalet. They work together with Satan. The spirit of hatred works together with Satan. And the spirit of hatred is Abunalet. And his posse. They have a whole bunch of beings. And they ain't playing. A lot of people think they're playing. No, they're not playing around when they get together. In a taf. Right? They're not playing. But he said, guard your ruach, because you got to guard it. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself in a real serious situation, right? Right, so this is the book of, last two things and we're finished, right? So this is the book of, right, so this is the book of, this is the book of, this is a lot of other things I'm going to talk about. Like this book of Yirmiyahu. This book of Yirmiyahu chapter 3, verse 6. Yahuwah said to me in the days of King Yashia, have you seen what she did, the faithless one Yasharal? How she went up to every high hill and every green tree, and they played the whore, and I thought, after she had done all this, that she would return to me. Isn't that what that man did? He went after her too. He spoke kindly to her. It ain't like, you know how you would say, with loving kindness I've drawn thee. Isn't that what he did? With loving kindness I've drawn thee, but he had some evil in his heart. Because Yahuwah is not a man that he should lie. He's not a man he should change his mind. That man changed his mind. That man said, man, forget you. Get out of my house, and threw her out there and let the man rape her all night. And then he cut her up into pieces because he was pretending the whole time. With loving kindness I've drawn thee. Nah, he ain't drawing you with loving kindness. That man drawing you with loving kindness to get you back for the stuff you did. And you know, people saying that's how this world is. But it says she played a whore, and I thought after she had done all this, she will return to me. But she did not return, and her treacherous sister Yehuda saw it. And she saw that for all the adulteries of that faithless one Yasharal, I had sent her away with a decree of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Yehuda did not fear. But she too went and played the whore, because she took her whoredom lightly, and she polluted the land and committed adultery with her stone and tree. Isn't that what they were doing? They were making idols of silver and gold. They were eating things on the mountains. But it says right here, yet for all this, her treacherous sister Yehuda did not return to me, because they were worshiping idols. They exchanged Yahuwah for the worship of idols and wood and stone and silver and gold. And they stopped giving him the praise. They started doing things opposite. And Yahuwah gave them up. And the treacherous sister Yehuda did not return to me with her whole heart. What? With her whole heart. Amazingly, when the man went to go forgive the woman in the house with her father, they were joyful and happy to see her. She was there for 4 months, which means she had a lot of time to think about it. He came back, and he came back with loving kindness have I drawn thee, but it wasn't with his whole heart. It wasn't with his whole heart. But guess what happens? He says, but his whole heart, but in pretense, declares Yahuwah. She pretended. He said she came back and pretended that she actually was coming back with her whole heart, and she did not come back with her whole heart. She still had idol here, idol there, idols everywhere, idols all around, idols in the thoughts, in the mind, all things that worship. He said you pretended and you hadn't have it with your whole heart. And guess what he said? And Yahuwah said to me, faithless Yasharal has shown herself more righteous than treacherous Yehuda. Go and proclaim these words toward the north and say, return faithless Yasharal, declares Yahuwah. I will no longer I will no longer, declares Yahuwah, I will not look on you in anger, for I am merciful, declares Yahuwah. Why? Because we just read in the Surah. You need to be with somebody who's not compassionate and touching mercy. Why do you think this man, why do you think Yahuwah is genuine with what he's saying? He ain't pretending. He's like, I'm not pretending. I'm telling you to come back. I'm telling you to come back. I ain't a pretender. And you start thinking about a man who says to a woman, hey, you did this mistake and you come back, I'll take you back. I'm not pretending. Because Yahuwah, if you're going to be like Yahuwah, you can't pretend. You say you're going to take back an adulterous woman, a person who committed fornication? He said you can't pretend with that. Ain't no pretending with that. Because if you pretend, you're going to be like that man in Bethlehem Yahuwah. You're going to be like that man in Judges. And you don't want to be like him. Because you can't pretend with it. It got to be truthful. It really does. Or don't do it at all. It's really true. Or don't do it at all. Don't even read. You know how people read it? They be trying to, they say, command a man to do this. He be like, you can't, this ain't something you want to repeat to somebody, and then you be like, this is serious stuff. Like, you can't pretend. Like, you can't pretend to do something like this. Because if you pretend, it's something gonna happen to you if you pretend. It ain't gonna be a good thing. And it says, return faithful as Yasharal, declares Yahuwah, and I will not look on you in anger, for I am merciful, declares Yahuwah. I will not be angry forever. That's why he tells us to put away anger. And you tell us to do in Colossians. He said, a woman that do that to you ain't gonna make you angry. Yeah, it will. It made Yahuwah angry. Why are you angry? What's wrong? That makes no sense. Yahuwah gets mad when you do it. He get upset. So why do you think, oh, a man's supposed to be joyful? You're just so angry. Huh? Then Yahuwah said, he softens his heart down, he humbles himself, and he says, return to me, and I'll love you again. And I ain't pretending. And the people say, why Dawid was a man after Yahuwah's own heart? Because Yahuwah forgave him for his adultery. And he returned, and he allowed him to come back with no pretense. He did it. He did it with no pretense. He allowed Bathsheba and David to come back. And he did it with no he ain't pretend either. He did not pretend when he brought him back by an innocent child dying from a son. Right? That wasn't even supposed to be born. But it had to be born. And it says, for I am merciful, declares Yahuwah, and I will not be angry forever. You see, that's a problem. You can't be angry forever. 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, 20 years, 25 years, 5 years. You can't be angry forever. If you in Yahuwah's image, you could be angry, but you can't do it forever, though. Yahuwah ain't like y'all. And it says right here, only acknowledge your guilt. That's the only thing. He said, man, when you come back, I'm not pretending when I say I'll take you back, but he said, only acknowledge your guilt. Did that man acknowledge his guilt for what he did? No, he just proclaimed the story and made up all this stuff. I really ain't forgive her, man. I really hate her in my heart. I was pretending these Benjamites, but it was my fault. I threw her out there. I really wouldn't really care about her. I really didn't love her like I said I did. You see why honesty, they say honesty the best policy. And here, they say, that's the truth. He didn't really love that woman. He never did. Only acknowledge your guilt that you rebelled against Yahuwah, your Elohim, and scattered your favors among the foreigners under every green tree. Isn't that what he said? We're not going among the foreigners, man. Let's go among Yasharal. Not even knowing whose family tree he put that under. And said, and scatter your favors among every green tree, and have not obeyed the voice of Yahuwah, declares Yahuwah. Return, O faithless children, declares Yahuwah, for I am your husband, your master. I will take you, one from a city and two from a family, and bring you to Solomon. I'm gonna bring you back. But he brought her back to Yehuda, Jerusalem. You know what he did? He brought back a dead body, and he cut her up. Because you pretending. Yahuwah not a pretender. He's not pretending. And neither should we. Right, so this is the last thing. Right, this is the Odes of Solomon. Ode Shaloma, chapter 23. Odes of Solomon, chapter 23, verse 1. It says, joy is from the Kudash ones, and who will put it on but they alone? He said, who gonna put this on? Something like this? Who gonna put that on? You who are like, all the stuff you did, I'll take you back. But the pretending part, you're gonna have to acknowledge what you've done. Because if you don't acknowledge what you do when you come back, you're gonna still be pretending. He's like, you pretending. I said, I'm doing this without pretense. He said, you're not gonna come back and tell me what you've done. He said, you pretended too. But it says, Khan is for the elect ones, and who will receive it, but they who trusted in it from the beginning. From the beginning. Love is for the elect ones. Joy is for the elect ones. Khan, grace is for the elect ones. Love is for the elect ones. And who will put it on but they who will possess it from the beginning? Walk in the knowledge of Yahuwah. Walk in it, and you will know the Khan of Yahuwah generously, both for his exaltation, his warnings, and for the perfection of his knowledge. And his thought was like a letter, and his will descended from on high, and it was sent from a bow like an arrow that has been forcibly shot. And many hands rushed to the letter in order to catch and then read it, right? But it escaped from their fingers, and they were afraid of it, and of the seal which was upon it, because they were not allowed to loosen its seal. For the power which was over the seal was better than they. So in the book of Revelation, Hazum chapter 5, it says, Who shall open the book and loose the seals thereof? The man say, weep not. For the lion, the Ari, of the Matai Yehuda, tribe of Yehuda, has prevailed to open the book and to loose the seals thereof, because it was greater than you. It was greater than all of us. And you know what he said? Verse 10 says, but those who saw the letter went after it, that they might know where it would land, and who should read it, and who should hear it. But a wheel received it, and it, the letter, came over it, and with it was a sign of the kingdom and of providence. And everything which was disturbing to the wheel, it molded and cut it down. And it restrained a multitude of adversaries and bridged rivers. And it crossed over and uprooted many trees, many forests, and made it a wide way. The head went down to the feet, because unto the feet ran the wheel. And whatever had come upon it, the letter was one of command, and hence all regions were gathered together. Verse 18, and there appeared at its head the head which was revealed, even the Son of Truth, from the Most High Abba. And he inherited and possessed everything. And then the scheming of the many ceased. He said, then the scheming of the many has ceased. All the plots, everything. Just like we talked about Ehud, he said, you will go no further. He said, the scheming of what? Many ceased. It's all, he said, it stopped. And what happened after that? Then all the seducers, all the pretenders, became headstrong and fled. He said, all the pretenders, all the people who schemed, they came headstrong and fled, and the persecutors became extinct and were blotted out. He said, all of them blotted out. Why? And the letter became a large volume, which was entirely written by the finger of Yahuwah. He said the whole thing was written by his finger. And get what it said. 22. The name of our Father was upon it, and of the Son, and the Kudash Ruach, to rule forever and ever. All right. So we look at all that. Look at Yahushua Mashiach. Look at the understanding, knowing that to be a pretender is not to understand Yahuwah. You can't. So no man can count the sum of his words, the sum of his thoughts, the sum of who he is. He said, if you try to count it, it'd be too wonderful for your consciousness to even comprehend or even fill your heart and mind with. But to look at yourself and not be that blood guilt man, that blood guilt woman. Know those who pretend to walk in righteousness. Know those who pretend as if they don't have anything in their heart. Because if you have anything in your heart and you're not guarding yourself morning, noon, and evening, even the 8 prayer watch times and the times that you need to guard yourself, you're going to find yourself doing things you should not do. Even as the things we read, some of the things we read, and there's a lot more, but at the same time, when we start looking at our life, look at the times we pretend, the things that we say that we're going to do, one has to be with a sincere heart and with loving kindness in their heart, and not pretend to do somebody harm, to do somebody wrong, to set someone up, to set a scheme or a plot or a snare, or to set a ditch for them to fall in, to make up a story, another lie, and pretend, even as the 12 sons did to the father Yaakov when they pretended with his brother. Right? You don't want to ever be a pretender. No, you need to be a woman touching jealousy of another woman, or a man touching jealousy of another man. Knowing that these things are true, and one needs to walk in righteousness in the light of life, and we don't want to live our life as in pretense and return to Yahuwah and be treacherous in his sight, but to acknowledge our sins and our transgressions and request that Yahuwah search us and see if there's any wicked way in our heart and our mind. Because if it's not, and we do things out of pretense, we will find ourselves doing many things we should not do, and be hearkening to wizards and necromancers and the knowing ones, and have many works of the flesh. And even not only we will actually do them, but we will give, like we say, we will give approval to those who do it. If we give approval to those who do these things, then we ourselves are partakers in the evil deeds. So we look at everything in life. We look at everything we've done from birth to present. And he say, look at to cancel out all the things as we move closer and closer toward the first day of the transition out of this 364-day cycle. For there are many things that can be said, there are many things that can be uttered, but all things are not needful, and some things are need to be exposed by the light. So as we move forward in kindness, ahab, joy, peace, patience, meekness, temperance, amunah, and self-control. But in actuality, we examine ourselves daily to see if there be any wicked way in our heart and our mind. Right? So this is the last thing, this is Aleph Yukanan 2:24. Let what you heard from the beginning abide in you. And if what you heard from the beginning abides in you, then you too will abide in the Son, the life of the house, and the Father, the strength of the house. And this is the promise he has made to us, eternal life. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth.